Hey guys, Suro and Disney here, and welcome to the first of many Halloween Horror Nights Popcasts. Yes, it's not a typo or anything. Since my channel is Pop, we are Popcasters, not podcasters. So this is a Popcast. So no, we're not going to talk about Pepsi or Coke or anything like that. We're going to talk about Halloween Horror Nights. And joining me is my good friend from the T-Dot. Yes, that would be Toronto Josh, representing In the Loop. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me today, Owen. I've been watching your videos for a while now. I kind of stalked you out a little bit throughout the line of what was that stupid clown maze last year? I tried to forget that and block that out of my memory because it scared the shit out of me.
Giggles of Gore was awesome.
That was it. No, I love Giggles of Gore. I have a fear of clowns. So
Right
we
on.
went there, and we were the only people in the house, and of course they pushed me first.
Nice.
Let's just say at the end when Mr. Chainsaw came running out, I ran screaming like a little girl. So, but no, I've been watching your videos for a while now, so I really appreciate the opportunity to come on here tonight and to represent everything that you're into and everything that we're going to talk about. I busted out my Minion, my Nightmare Before Christmas, and my overall Halloween themed t-shirt because we're going to get into some awesome Halloween stuff today.
Yes, we certainly are, and I do not like video because my camera doesn't look right because of the lighting, so you get to see me drink frozen lemonade for the next hour or so.
Awesome.
It's very tasty, I promise you. All right. Now, real quick before we get started with talking about what's been going on with the craziness for the last several days, I do want to bring up your personal past with the event. So when was the first year that you attended Halloween Horror Nights?
I believe, much like yourself, it was actually Halloween Horror Nights 23. I believe that might have been your first year as well. So that was my first time finally getting to this event that I have been dreaming about ever since I knew it was a thing. I followed it every year. I tried to, I got obsessed with Jack the Clown and the Caretaker and stuff like that, but
Okay.
I was never able to really get out there. So, after I became an adult and I got a real job and had money, I started doing a lot more traveling around theme parks and stuff. So HHN 23 was my first one, and I was basically hooked. I can't stop going now.
Do you remember watching like the commercials and the promotion for it back before you started going, and that gave you like the reason to want to go?
Basically, yeah, like any type of behind the scenes or this is coming soon kind of deal on either YouTube or on TV that I could find. Because I mean, obviously we have a little bit of less coverage on a TV for something down in Orlando, up here in Toronto, but
Yeah.
with the invention of the internet, of course, I had no issue whatsoever being able to find the content that I wanted to. But yeah, I would watch commercials. I would learn a little bit about what's going on and, start getting into more of the history of like the icons and some of the houses.
Yeah.
I don't know as much as you do. I've seen some of your videos and my God, for someone who's only been to 2 events, I am impressed with how much you know about it. So that's why I come to your channel. And from your channel, I've been spun off to several other Horror Nights related stuff. And actually, I think through you might have been where I first found out about Jen and Tim Tracker, which got me I'm obsessed with Orlando in general. So, yeah.
What is the greatest place in the world, regardless what anybody says, at least to me, and I know a lot of people agree.
Yep. It is totally Orlando. I love it.
Yes, and one day, somewhere down the line, hopefully, somehow, some way, I will move there. Now, here's the thing. I started in 2012, actually. That was my first year, and I went because of Penn and Teller, and I had a really bad experience I talk about on my channel, and I decided if I want to go back, if I was ever going to decide to go back, I wanted to do it right. So I started to learn all the background about the icons. I had to learn about the previous events. I had to learn about all the speculation and the rumors when everything started breaking in 2013. And when I went to the event, I wanted to do everything right. I wanted to do the Unmasking the Horror tours. I wanted to get a Rush of Fear pass, and I wanted to fully immerse myself in the event. And that's exactly what I did. And you can say, honestly, even though I did go in 2012, I only did 3 things, and everything else was ruined by the rain.
Right.
Which was my birthday, by the way. So it's like a double-edged sword. Yeah, didn't meet Penn and Teller on my birthday. Yeah, it's a whole sob story about that. So yeah, you can check that out if you want to. But yeah, 2013, fully immersed myself in the event. Got to see every house numerous times. I got to watch all the shows numerous times. I fell in love with Bill and Ted, the show, not Bill and Ted's actors. Well, maybe one of the dancers, but that's not really love or anything. Hashtag the other one. The thing is, hey, anybody watching this channel knows exactly what hashtag the other one means. So it's funny because I was not a fan of this event ever. I remember going to my first trip in Orlando back in 1990, and that's what this year is. It's about the 25th anniversary of my first trip to Orlando. So the 25 is all over this year for me. And because of that, I remember sitting at the Days Inn on iDrive, and I was watching the commercial where the chainsaw would cut through the pumpkin.
Okay.
And it freaked me out, and I wanted nothing to do with Halloween Horror Nights ever. So, and here we are now in 2015, and I'm not the source of Horror Nights information, but people do go to me for information, so a lot of things have changed.
So I've got a question for you. So you mentioned about seeing that commercial and being, freaked out and not wanting to go to the event. Are you just a fan overall of horror movies, or like what was it that got you to say, okay, I'm finally going to go?
Penn and Teller.
Penn and Teller. That's it. Yeah.
Penn and Teller is the only answer.
I think when I heard that they were actually going to cameo in the house every now and again, that was just like, that was a genius idea. Did you go through, did you actually get to go through the house?
I went to the house twice.
Okay. Were they in it when you went through?
No.
See, I mean, I get why they wouldn't advertise it. It's kind of that whole mystery box, like, oh my God, are they going to be there or not? So I get it, but it kind of would have been nice to know a kind of like a schedule, like they may appear on weekends only kind of deal.
Just look at their schedule at the Rio at the time. They pretty much took an entire month off, and you knew that at least part of that time they were going to be at Universal.
Right.
Well, let me explain how this works, actually. It's just like a short version of the story. I did go through the house twice. This was my birthday. This was opening night in 2012. So it's opening night of Halloween Horror Nights. It's something I've never been to before. I got my Penn and Teller shirt on, and then all of a sudden, whoosh, the deluge. The rain just starts like crazy. So they actually cut us off before we could go back to Penn and Teller. They actually cut us off around Animal Actors. And they said, no, you can't go back to World Expo. And that's where Penn and Teller were that year.
Right.
And we were walking in massive puddles of water. And I did not realize at the time, but my wonderful Walt Disney World poncho had a hole in it. And I was wearing denim shorts. I was soaked from head to toe. And I walked to the front of Penn and Teller, and I was supposed to talk to the manager there to see if I can work something out, because I've been talking to Universal for that last week. I was in town just so I can see if I could work something out to maybe get a meet and greet, maybe like shake their hands, get an autograph. Because truth be told, it's been one of my lifelong goals to meet Penn and Teller, but I can't go to Vegas in order to do it. So I have to basically like get lucky.
Right.
Okay, case in point, I did go to Vegas one time, and I did go through Bally's trying to find them. That didn't work. My mom was actually going to take me to go see Rocky Horror with them as the narrators in New York. That fell through. We were supposed to go to Virginia and to see them live, and that ended up falling through because of a situation involving where we were staying at the time. So this was my chance to finally get it to work out. So I get to the line, I wait for the manager. The manager shows up. The poor team members are soaked from head to toe. They don't even have an umbrella. And they're just standing there miserable. The guy shows up. He kind of looks like that comedian Ant that used to be like famous. He's not now, obviously. But he basically told me that they were gone. And apparently while I was waiting, which is what I was told to do, they were walking in the line, shaking hands with people. And before the rain started, they got into a vehicle and got off property before the big storm hit. They were there the next night, apparently, from what I heard. But I was standing. Oh, God. I was standing in Bill and Ted waiting for it to start, and it was still raining. And there were people like, yeah, I saw them. I shook their hand, and I was like, man, this is my birthday. Come on. Don't rub it in. But it did not burn me on the event. I mean, I did House of Horrors, and then the rain started. Then I did Penn and Teller soaked from head to toe. I did Bill and Ted. I did Penn and Teller one last time, and I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I'm in denim. I feel miserable right now. Went to NASCAR, got some food, and then took the bus back, Mears Transportation, to Pop Century. So that was my first Horror Nights experience. Not a very good one.
Fair enough. I definitely had a much better first year at Horror Nights. So,
you did.
Yeah, it was pretty freaking awesome. But I just, just to do, because we always like to do little cheap plugs on In a Loop podcast. Sure. I'm going to do a cheap plug right now, since we're talking about Penn and Teller, is thepennproject.com. We are actually trying to get Penn Jillette to be the voice of the In a Loop podcast.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
To do our intro. So we're trying. He has responded to us on Twitter. He has, he's seen us and he's responded. But we're going to try pushing hard this year and this season, now that it's kicking off in the coaster season, to try to get him on. So maybe, you never know, he might be the voice, and you might get to hear him every week if you listen to the In the Loop podcast.
That'd be pretty awesome.
Had to get that cheap plug in there. Thank you for that.
No worry. We all live in a Mick Foley age, so it's fine. No harm done.
Yeah, that is very true.
Got to get yourself over at all costs. I completely understand that. That's the reason I have business cards that I hand to people in the parks.
Yep.
Like, hey, do you like wrestling? Do you like theme parks? Obviously, you're here. Yep. So, here, check it out.
That's my next step. We've got business cards already created. I just need to get them delivered, and I will be handing them out when I'm down there in Orlando the next few times.
Well, it looks like you and I are just going to be like handing out card fools next.
Yep, pretty much.
So, you said you went to 2013. 2013 was an awesome year. Due to a really awesome YouTube meetup that was set up by the Tim Tracker, we actually got to film in all the houses, and I actually filmed Rocky Horror. Now, that technically wasn't something we were allowed to do, but I found out late that we were, even though that I was told that we weren't originally, but when we were sitting there, they were like, yeah, go ahead. But I didn't get that message. Apparently, Ricky Briganti was the only one that did. But, so I filmed like 4 days later, like sitting on the floor. So that's basically what I did, but it was a great experience. Did the tours. I love the Unmasking the Horror tours. I think they're amazing. If you're not doing them, I don't know why. I mean, I understand if it's a money situation, but seriously, if you like the event, Unmasking the Horror is an awesome way to be able to see the intricate details you don't get to see in show lighting. And I'm telling you right now, like, they're just totally awesome.
I couldn't agree more.
Did you have you been able to do a tour yet?
Each year I go, I do the morning tour on the Friday morning that Hollow Scream opens.
Okay.
So I was able to do the Unmasking the Horror tour the first year we got through. I'm trying to look back at the houses, and that will be.
Try to look back at the houses.
My internet's going off. Yeah.
It's really
Once
wonky.
I see the houses, then I'll know which. Here we go. Inside. Yeah, I think it may or may not.
Are we okay? Having little technical glitches here with Josh's internet, it seems like. It's funny because he's kind of staring at me right now. So I'm going to try to keep it going as much as I can.
That's the way it goes.
Whoa!
It sounds like it's a little bit better right now.
Welcome to this planet, sir. Are we live?
All right, I'm bringing up the list again now.
Go ahead.
I can hear you perfectly.
I'm glad you can hear me because you're glitching out something fierce right now.
I'm going to try something. I will be right back.
All right.
If you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Just talk amongst yourself. I will be right back.
All right. So this is from Disney. And Josh actually is having some technical issues. Hopefully he'll be able to rejoin us momentarily. But we're talking about 2013 and the event in 2013. Some really great houses in 2013. Some stuff that I wasn't sure if I was going to like, and some stuff that I was pretty sure I was going to love. And obviously, when you get to stuff that I was absolutely going to love, you got to be talking about stuff like The Cabin in the Woods and An American Werewolf in London and even Evil Dead. I mean, I really enjoyed those houses. And being not a fan of The Walking Dead, I wasn't sure if I would like that house or not, given the fact that I did not get to go through the house in the disaster queue in 2012. So basically, it was a different experience for me. And like I said in the podcast last night with First Class Horror, when I was talking to Aaron, I will say the same thing that I said then. I really dug that house. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of last year's maze, but this year, the year that we're talking about, 2013, I definitely enjoyed. So, yeah, when Josh returns, but we're going to talk more about the his experience in 2013, since this was his first year, and the fact that tours are really something that people need to invest in. If you want to see the details that you can't really see when you're trying to run from a monster, or you're trying to keep from tripping over the person in front of you, or the drunk person behind you is yelling in your ear, no, you could totally enjoy yourself. And the only problem I have with the tours, and I understand it's a copyright issue, and that is the fact that video is not allowed. I know you can take photos, but photos don't really work very well in my situation, even though I took a ton of them. And I have a lot of really awesome xenomorph selfies from last year. And I definitely will be taking some werewolf selfies this year if this lineup that we're hearing is actually true. And like I said, we haven't just been worked by the internet. But I don't know at this point. I'm guessing we won't know anything until Universal does official maze announcements or public standee comes up, whichever comes first. So yeah, that's what we got. Real quick, I want to thank you guys for watching us right now, and the first Popcast for Halloween Horror Nights, and I'm doing here with Toronto Josh. My apologies for the technical glitches. Hopefully next time we'll get it worked out, and hopefully we'll be able to get some more of your favorite Halloween Horror Nights updaters on this podcast very soon. So they won't be here every time, but I will try my best to get regular Halloween Horror Nights podcasts up as soon as I can. And real quick, I will throw it out there. If you are interested in sending us a question, use the hashtag HHN Popcast, Popcast. Yes, HHN Popcast. You can tweet me at Sir Owen Disney or Toronto Josh at In the Loop Josh if you'd like to ask questions. We've had a couple questions that were relayed to us, and we will be answering those momentarily. So Josh basically said he'll be right back. So let's just hope he doesn't have a Matt Lillard moment. Then again, he wouldn't, because he actually was one of the only ones that said it and didn't actually get killed right away. So yeah, there's always that. But yeah, if you have any questions, go right ahead and tweet us out. You're more than welcome to. There's a lot of things that have been going on lately in the last couple of days. Once Josh returns, we're going to talk about that a little bit more, and we're going to talk a little bit more about his 2013 experience. I will say right now, talking about the tours, if you are able to take one, definitely do. It's a great way to see the event in a whole new perspective, and you can find out a lot of backstory that you wouldn't necessarily know unless you were taking an RIP tour or doing like an Arcane Insights tour with one of the members of A&D. It's something that's a little bit pricey, but you definitely get your money's worth. I mean, you get 3 houses in the morning and 3 houses in the afternoon. And if you pay one price, you're able to go through all 6 of the houses, which I don't know if they're going to push that to 7 this year, if we end up getting 9 houses or not, but it's anyone's guess at this point. I really hope that that ends up coming down the pike that way as well. So I will say right now that this year is really interesting, because it seems like, granted, I haven't been following the event as much as some of you have, but when it comes down to it, there is a lot of really earliness when everything was coming out this year. Like the last couple of days, it seems like almost everything has been revealed. But I'm pretty sure there's some still some aces up the sleeves that haven't been revealed to everyone yet. Now, don't forget, it's not official until Universal says it is. And we get those midnight or afternoon reveals, depending on how they do it that this year. I do think that personally, for me, looking at the lineup, if it does end up happening the way that everyone says that it will, I do think this is a stellar lineup. The only problem I have, and it's something I said in the podcast last night with First Class Horror, when it comes down to it, it's not a 25th anniversary lineup. But then again, it's been mentioned that maybe this lineup that we're thinking we should be getting for 25 might be what we end up getting for 30, because 30 that's 3 decades right there. So that's 3 decades of content you can put in houses and scare zones. So I think that may end up being a possibility down the line very soon as well. But then again, it just depends on how horror is in that time, what's popular, and what originals they want to go with. Obviously, every single year, something different comes around, and every single year it seems like we get something that we've had before and maybe in a different way. Like we've had The Walking Dead for the last 4 years, and I understand there's a lot of overkill with The Walking Dead. I hear it all the time. But the thing about it is right now, especially, this is the 25th anniversary. I know it may not be what some of you actually want, but don't worry. When it comes down to it, hopefully we'll have a great year this year. I truly believe that we will, and I think that we're going to have some fun this year, regardless if this is the lineup or, like I said, someone's working us. So, but that's what we've got. So I will also state right now that, talking about 2013 as well, bring back An American Werewolf in London if it does end up coming back this year. I do think that if it does return, I would say that it's not going to be exactly the same. I don't think it's going to be a carbon copy of what we walked through in 2013. I don't think it's going to be a carbon copy of what Hollywood walked through in 2014. I think it's going to be something not necessarily different, but something similar at the same time. And I think that this is done for a reason. And I don't think the reason is to just save a little bit of money. I do think that this is actually being done for a purpose. Not exactly sure what the purpose is right now, but I'm sure we'll find out in due time. So, yeah, we're going to be getting some questions soon. I see Josh has rejoined us.
I'm back.
Yay!
I am so sorry about that, everybody. My internet is it's having issues tonight. It was snowing really briefly in the morning, and I think it just was scared and it doesn't want to work anymore. But it's back now.
No worries. I just had to bounce around a little bit for the last couple of minutes, but it's all right.
That's the joys of live podcasting.
That's exactly right, and that's why I don't edit too. Because if I have a mistake, then like that. If I leave a mistake, if I have a mistake, it doesn't matter. So. People know to expect no edits from me. That's what makes me a little different from everyone else. 2013, you're talking about, you go through the morning tour and then you go to Howl-O-Scream for their opening night.
Yes. All right. So the tour that I had a chance of doing when I was there in 2013, I've got the list up on here. We got to go through Resident Evil. We got to go through Evil Dead, and we got to go through Cabin in the Woods. That was the morning tour that we did.
Mm-hmm.
And those were 3. Well, Resident Evil was a little bit of a weak house, in my opinion. As a gamer, it was really cool to see the little Easter eggs and stuff. But overall, I thought the house itself, like in production at the evening, was a little bit weak. Some of the sets, as cool as they were a little bit too big. And you didn't really feel that you were in any danger, especially that final scene with the one character up on top of the bridge yelling down and shooting at you and stuff like that. I just found that was a little bit weak for an ending. But Cabin in the Woods was amazing.
I will say I get a lot of flack for this, and I always do, but it's been proven through the podcast last night that I'm not necessarily the only one. I liked Resident Evil, honestly. I really did. I'm not a gamer. I maybe played Resident Evil, one of the games, once, like a demo at like a GameStop or something. But I dug the house for what it was. I mean, it wasn't a comedy house, but it was a little bit more lighthearted. If you judge it like that, you might like it a little bit more. Like from the guy in the front, the cop shooting at the zombie, the guy looked like Zac Efron in the first room. And then the nods to Sam Meats in the second, and then the pause room, which apparently got his character in it, like towards the end of the event, and me trying to find the gat in the house, which is always fun. But yeah, Resident Evil was fine. I mean, I didn't hate it as much as a lot of people did. I know a lot of people really didn't like some of the houses in 2013, that or Havoc or Afterlife, but I mean, it comes with the territory. There's always going to be a house every year that people aren't going to agree with.
Mm-hmm.
And if you like, okay, let's say for some reason this would probably never happen. But let's say the Cabin in the Woods was a bust.
Right.
Everyone hated Cabin in the Woods, but you were the only one saying this house is awesome, and everyone's like, you stop talking now. I mean, that's how it works. I mean, honestly, I mean, I didn't like The Walking Dead last year because I believe if you are to go through that house, in order to dig that house as much as you probably should, being the biggest house in the history of the event, I would say that what you have to do is be a fan of the show.
It definitely helped.
Yeah.
But that house, I thought, there was a lot of nods to the show. And even though it was the biggest house in history, you're right. If you weren't a fan, you're not going to get it. It's just zombies at that point. So I agree with you that you do need to be a fan of the IP to really get into it. And I don't know, like, I was a fan of Resident Evil. I just thought the house was a little bit weak compared to what it could have been.
I know a lot of people were upset with Silent Hill too, so I mean I can understand because they wanted one form and they got the other. So Resident Evil I think may have worked better honestly if they went with the movie.
Yeah.
There's more monsters to work with that they could have worked with. Now granted I'm not a gamer, so I'm sure there's a billion monsters and I saw pictures of them that could have worked in Resident Evil, but it didn't seem like they were really wanting to go that direction.
No, it was more like I loved that screen when it was the game paused area, that one room. I loved that idea. It was so gimmicky and just kind of a great nod to the game itself. But without knowing what the hell was going on, then you didn't get it. It wasn't that funny to you. Or the red and the green herbs all over the place. That was never, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that was ever referenced in the movies. That was purely a game thing. Again, such a really geeky thing, but for the people who love the game, it was cool to live that world. But I don't know, you take the IP out of it and just put it as a house on its own. I didn't think it really did well. That's just me, though. There was one good scare with the dog in the closet or the store, but overall, I just think the house kind of fell flat compared to what it could have been.
Weirdly enough, that's actually where the gap was too. So
yeah,
it made the ear-piercing alarm go off.
Yes. Yep. But I absolutely loved Cabin in the Woods. I'm a huge fan of that movie. I think it's one of the best movies. I don't know, have you seen the movie or no?
Oh, I love Cabin in the Woods. I knew it was made for Horror Nights the second that I saw it. And when I walked out, I was like, that's going to be the first property they announced. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened.
Yep. And like, I will never spoil it just in case somebody who's watching this has not seen it. But I love the movie because of its message and kind of the whole meaning of the movie means you'll never ever see any sort of a spin-off to that house. You just can't.
There's no way. No. Literally everything is over.
Yep.
That's all I can say without spoiling it. Everything is over.
Yep. That's it. There's just no chance. No way. No spin-off, no sequel, no prequel. Maybe a prequel, but that's
prequel.
That's cheap.
You know, honestly, Josh, I think a really great scare zone would be to take the monsters from Cabin in the Woods and maybe use them one year.
Yep. Just giant, crazy. That's all I'm going to say without spoiling the movie. But yes.
we've got a couple questions. I do see our chat room is actually finally working here. Real quick, we'll start with, let's see. I have a question from Twitter.
Okay.
From @678 Andrew Baker. It asks both of us, what is the one house you wish you could happen?
All right.
You wish it could happen, sorry.
Yep. I know me, I would love to see an Army of Darkness house.
Okay.
It could, but the catch is, much like Penn and Teller get nuked,
yes.
I want to see Bruce Campbell in the house as Ash. That's what I want to see.
Well, I think there's a possibility of when the Ash versus Evil Dead television series starts, we may end up getting some sort of a house based on that. Yes. So you might get something close to it, but not necessarily Army of Darkness.
No, probably not. I think that would be a great use for the funny house of the year, so to speak. You know, I think just having Bruce Campbell in there, even if it's just a quick cameo at the end, this is my boomstick. That would be heaven. That would be my ultimate if I had any chance what to do.
It looks like I might be getting mine this year, actually. And
yeah, I was gonna say
I might be getting mine this year. And anybody that knows me or knows of me knows that my one dream property is Scream. It's the movie that got me into horror in the first place, and it's the house I've always wanted to see. I know it was a part of All Night Die-In too, and it was just like a couple rooms. I guess they did the stuff with Steve in the backyard being dead, and then we transitioned to Tatum in the garage door, which I love so much. But I will say right now, I want this house, a full Scream house more than anything, and it's my dream property without a doubt.
I think it will make a perfect house, and after seeing Halloween last year, and what they did with a very simple slasher concept that Halloween really is at the root of it, it was an amazing house. And I'm just thinking that scene with the garage door, that's it. I need to see that happen. And if you notice, right, I'm trying to point to it, there is my ghost face pop vinyl, which I knew you would like.
Oh, totally. I think I could get that at PIQ right now at City Walk. I believe they probably have it.
Yep. Actually, all of those will kind of come up throughout tonight. The Walking Dead, Creature from the Black Lagoon, maybe, and of course Dracula. But we'll get to that later, I'm sure.
Okay, we got another question here. Actually, I have a couple of questions. One is also from Twitter, and it's from at Ted2012Bill, which is my friend Will Smith. He says, how long before Halloween Horror Nights gets another video game house?
I'm trying to think. Well, The Evil Within, I don't know if you're familiar with that. It was actually done by the creator of Resident Evil. The Evil Within got critical praise for being an amazing back to the bare roots of survival horror games, and even had a little few nods to Resident Evil. That could make an amazing house. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think they actually might have done something with that over at Universal Japan with that property for a little setup for a house. I don't know if it was during Horror Nights or if it was just a publicity thing, but I believe they did something or somewhere overseas touched on The Evil Within as a haunted house at one point last year. And I think that would be an amazing property to see. Aside from that, I can't think of any survival horror games that I would want to actually see currently.
I know a lot of people were talking about BioShock, but I mean, apparently, this isn't what I'm saying. So anybody that's listening to this, if I'm incorrect, I'm sorry, but apparently Saws and Steam was kind of like BioShock.
Yes.
So we got our answer to BioShock, so there you go. I mean, but I understand wanting to have the full IP to be able to utilize everything from the BioShock universe. I sound like I know what I'm talking about in video games, don't I? The thing is, I mean, I'm not a video game guy at all, but I think at this point, there are video game properties that would work. Eventually, I think that they may have to go to a video game property, possibly. But, honestly, I don't think it's going to happen for a while.
No. I can't see anything. Like I said, aside from The Evil Within, which would be really, really perfect, I can't think of anything at the moment that would transfer over that well.
Yeah, and if anything involving zombies in any way, that's pretty much shut out too. So most survival horror games seem to involve the undead somehow. So
yeah, Evil Within, I don't know if it's got any... I've not played it, admittedly, but I've watched a lot of reviews. I don't know if it involves the undead. I know there's some ghosts and stuff. There's big guys with chainsaws and giant axes, kind of very similar to Pyramid Head from the Silent Hill series.
Okay.
Or the chainsaw guy from the Resident Evil 4 game. So there's characters that would fit in that it would be amazing and iconic to experience in person. I just don't see it happening anytime soon. Maybe if the game gets a sequel, which is rumored. But I don't think you'll see that for the next couple years at least.
Well, it just depends, honestly. I think that the video game properties and the music properties go hand in hand in Orlando. They both didn't seem to have the effect that people thought they would. So maybe they're gone. Maybe we won't see video games and music in Orlando ever again. It's anyone's guess at this point.
Yep.
Okay, I have one more question here actually two more questions here from Will Smith. He actually sent us a couple here, so shout out. He asked if we think we're going to get an extreme house this year. No, probably not.
So now when you say extreme house, do you mean an upcharge, or are you talking upcharge and actually like legit extreme?
You sign waiver in order to be able to go through the house. Now, it'll be most likely an upcharge too, but you have to physically sign a waiver in order to be able to go.
No, I see an upcharge. Yes, I see something like they tested at the end of Horror Nights last year. I don't see an extreme house quite yet.
No.
I think they need to really test out the system and how they operate with crowd control.
Totally.
And then if it goes well, I could see them going into something like Trapped over at Knott's or the Experiment over at Hollow Scream, which I've done both times that I've gone there. I would love Universal to do an extreme house. I think they could pull it off amazingly.
I do too.
I just think that the crowd control at Horror Nights is a major issue in terms of something like that.
That's the reason why, like, doing like the Zombie Containment Unit 15, that would be awesome, but with the crowds like Horror Nights, I don't think it could work.
Well, I mean, it would also have to be a good house, because that sure as heck was not.
Give it a branding like Shaun of the Dead or like Zombieland or maybe The Walking Dead itself. Kill two birds with one stone, literally.
You perfectly touched on an IP. Back now that I'm thinking of something else I would love to see. Zombieland.
Yes.
It's just there's no work.
No, not really.
It could be a scare zone. Let them run around the roller coasters, do whatever. It is just the setting is the park. I would love for one day. You know how they did Walking Dead as all the scare zones? Zombieland as all the scare zones would have worked a lot better, in my opinion, because it makes sense.
I can see that, but by the time that we got to Walking Dead taking over the whole park, Zombieland is a little bit less. Well, it's not less known, but maybe it's less remembered as it probably should be.
Right.
Because Zombieland is awesome, and I know that they're working on it's either a sequel or maybe like a television series, something like that soon.
They did a pilot for a TV series. I watched it. It was serviceable, but I don't believe it got picked up as a full series, unfortunately.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Well, we've got one more question actually from Will Smith before we move on to the rest of the. Thanks, Will, for putting up so many questions. Totally awesome. He wants to know who the villain for Bill and Ted will be this year.
The selfie stick. the selfie stick. Done. Oh. It is just going to be a giant walking, talking selfie stick.
That's awesome. That's super awesome, actually. I like that a lot. I totally didn't think that direction either. That's the best part.
I mean, why not, right? Like, they've done inanimate objects before as little gags, and with how much people, especially at theme parks, it's either going to be that or I would love to see this happen, but I know they wouldn't poke fun at themselves. I want to see Bill and Ted at some point have to go through a metal detector.
That will happen. I'm positive that will happen.
If that happens, I will just applaud them and give them extra money just because.
Well, this is an idea that I had, and it's totally off the wall. But I'm just going to throw this out here live so everybody can hear me. All right. There's a rumor going around that this is the last year. Well, last year was the last year that the person that plays Bill was going to be a part of the show. And they made a bunch of jokes last year during the show talking about their age and how they don't really look like their age anymore. Why not we basically look for a new Bill and Ted? And like the gimmick itself for Bill and Ted this year would be based on Universal itself. They'd have to poke fun at themselves. Mm-hmm. But let's say their marketing is the villain for Bill and Ted this year. And marketing doesn't think that Bill and Ted are young enough to beat Bill and Ted. And we really play with reality a little bit. It's out there, but I think it'd be fun.
Well, I mean, even with that same idea, if you just have them being the 25th anniversary, being all the rumors about talking about icons and everything like that, you could just do a whole thing. Bill and Ted are going back in time, and they can and basically meet themselves.
Yep.
Younger selves can kill off older selves time travel back into the future, there's your new cast for next year.
And the last Bill and Ted that I cannot wait to attend this year would be when they pass the baton to the new cast.
Yes. Exactly.
That's what I want to see. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yep.
You have some loopers in the chat room, it seems like.
I see that. I see that. They're going crazy in there. James is doing some kind of countdown. I don't know what, but sure.
He wants a shout out, apparently. He says he has 15 seconds left.
Well, hello, DJ Dog Hip Hop Jazz Club. I still think you should shorten your name. James Lane, hello. Other loopers in there. I know Christy, actually, who is a friend of mine. And just really quickly to give a shout out to her, she's the one who painted this awesome picture of Cheetah Hunt from Busch Gardens, Tampa, as well as this awesome Jay and Silent Bob. And over here, Freddie Domo and Jason Domo. I have 2 more that need to go up that haven't yet. She did all of that artwork for me as presents. So,
nice.
Yeah, this was actually a picture I took one year at Tampa that she ended up liking so much, and she painted it for me for a gift. So, shout out to her. Yeah.
Definitely.
So to the loopers that are in there, thank you very much for joining the show tonight. It means a lot that you guys came and followed us over here.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time and enjoying whatever we're talking about here. So real quick, I want to shout out to First Class Horror. He's in the chat room. He may be joining us later on. And I want to shout out to the Crazy Englishman. He's preparing for another podcast at 10 o'clock with the Horror Nights Updaters. So check that out at 10 p.m.
Cool.
So we've got a couple more questions. I have another question from one of the other Horror Nights Updaters, the Red Steel TV. He wants to know our thoughts on Jurassic Park being this out-of-the-box property in Hollywood.
Sure. I don't know.
And now you're the one that gets to look like you don't know.
I mean, I guess it could work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how, but I mean, I guess it's any other creature house. Like, I mean, I could picture, if you're talking a best of, like, I'm picturing that scene from Jurassic Park 1 in the kitchen with the raptors kind of, sneaking around would be kind of cool.
Full utilization of puppets and...
Yeah. I mean, they could do it.
Yeah. They're talking... Well, John Murdy has been tweeting about this property that he's going to get, and we're never going to be able to guess it because it's out of the box. Well, could it be literally out of the box? It could be possibly, I don't know, maybe Hellraiser or... I mean, but that's still horror. This basically out of the box seems like it's not necessarily a traditional horror property. Jurassic World would definitely work. I don't know, though, because honestly, if we're going to get in Hollywood something like Jurassic World or a Mad Max, which that's been rumored as well, I can't see it being Hollywood only. And if everything is true right now, it would be. And I would think it'd be something else.
Right.
But it could work. I mean, I have seen these really cool, like, Velociraptor costumes that they have walking around in, I think it's Universal Studios Japan. Mm-hmm. And they look great. So I totally could see where it would work. But I don't know. It depends. I have to say that would be a share if I had to guess. But then again, there's also the chance of Crimson Peak, which I think could still possibly be the promo house for Hollywood, even though it doesn't seem like it's coming to Orlando, at least for right now. But I know that both coasts want to work with Guillermo del Toro, so maybe that'll happen. Maybe that seems like more of a Hollywood thing anyway. So
right,
it just depends. What else we got here?
And plus, isn't Crimson Peak? I mean, at least it's promoted more as a romance. But I mean, I guess that doesn't really mean anything. It could still be eerie and gothic, I guess.
I think it'd be sweet, but the thing is, have you seen how big that building, the cathedral building in the movie, how it looks in the trailer? That thing is ginormous.
Yeah. Like, it looks like it would be the size of the entrance to the new King Kong stuff that's coming out there in USO. So,
real quick, I also want to give a shout out to the Red Steel TV for mentioning something that is very unfortunate. It just takes one person to ruin it for everyone, with Bill and Ted being taken away from Hollywood. I don't know if it's going to return or not. I hope so. That would be really awesome, but I'm hearing that it won't. But then again, it's not like I have spies or anything in Hollywood telling me things. So,
if it returns, do they poke fun at the incident that made it disappear?
I think that they will, but they're going to be very, very careful.
Because, I mean, the hanging over at Knott's Berry Farm poked at it. And they kind of joked about the whole, not really too much the details of why, but they made fun of Bill and Ted not being around anymore.
I saw it. I thought that was kind of funny, actually.
I love the hanging. It is it is a great show. So, but that's a whole other story.
I gotcha. Apparently, you're being asked if you're drunk by DJ.
No, I am not. I'm not even drinking tonight. Like, I had an empty bottle of Coke. That was it. Yeah, I have a tendency to drink on the In the Loop Live podcast, but never to the point of getting drunk.
Right on.
I see you turned your video back on.
I did. It's bright in here. We're rocking the Christopher Daniels shirt, by the way.
If you want to make sure you're visible, just a little tip: unclick my image now, because I know I told you earlier to click it. If you unclick me, it should go back to talking back and forth between you and I.
I wanted to make it look like I'm talking, and then when I stop talking, I want to see you talk, and then vice versa.
Yep, and that's really what should happen. As long as none of those boxes are clicked or highlighted, it should switch back and forth. But if not, then we'll look at you for a while.
Yay, great. Hi, everyone. Yeah, it's funny because they have done the Jurassic Park mazes in Horror Nights before in Orlando.
Really?
And they were, like I said, I haven't really seen any footage of them, but I know a lot of people like them, a lot of people didn't like them. It's kind of mixed here. So it was kind of like Crazy Englishman was mentioning, Extinction was basically half human, half dinosaurs, and Evolution in 2012. So, I mean, there was, it's funny, I'm watching myself here doing that. It's weird. But, yeah,
you can turn it back onto me. If you want to click back on me, that's fine. I have no problem.
Yay. We'll go back to you. All right. So here's the thing. There's a lot going on right now, and the questions have been kind of subsided for the time being. So let's talk about this list, shall we?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay. Well, first off, like I said before, I don't know if you were on the call or that was when you had your technical glitches or not, but the list is, do you remember this?
Yep.
The list is not official until Universal says it is, or until Public Standee comes out, whichever comes first. So Take everything that you're hearing right now with a grain of salt, because like has been mentioned numerous times, something could change at the drop of a hat.
That's the way it is. I mean, we are just under 150 days away until the event.
Yes,
just a little bit under, which is insane to think of.
I know.
So a lot. I mean, we don't know anything. Chances are, some, if not all, of what was leaked will probably be accurate.
Yeah, the people that got the information out, the people that let it out, they've done this for the last couple of years. That website has. So they've always been credible. But then again, when it comes down to it, something can always change. We could lose a house. We could get another house. I mean, they could change a scare zone or two. I mean, there's still questions to be answered right now.
Of course. But, I mean, looking at the lineup without, before we break it down, I like it. I think it gives enough of decent IPs, enough of new and original properties, like the originals, a little bit of the icons, or a lot of the icons potentially. Mm-hmm. So I see a lot of people freaking out about it, but I guess maybe I just don't get it. Maybe I don't get why everybody's freaking out. So I don't know if you want to break down house by house or how you want to do this.
Well, yeah, we'll do that. Well, like I said before, when it comes down to it, it does not seem like an anniversary year. There are nods to the past, but this doesn't feel like a 25th anniversary.
Okay. I guess what would you have done differently? What to you signifies the 25th anniversary?
Okay, a lot more original content, but I know marketing has kind of handcuffs on to make that a kind of a harder thing to do.
Exactly.
But if the scare zones stay all original, which it seems like for the most part they're going to, at least like I said, if the rumors are true, I would say right now that you got to focus on originals. you have to actually do a real website. Like, we have to go back to the old school Halloween Horror Nights websites, the ones that had the interactivity, the games, the backstories, everything that made the fans of the event, the diehards, fall in love with the event in the first place. You have to have nods to the icons, because obviously a lot of people really want that. And I want to see these icons because obviously I started out late. So I didn't get a chance to walk through houses with Jack the Clown or the caretaker or the director or the usher. I did not get that chance at all to see this stuff. And I want to see it. I want to see these houses of the past I've heard so many great things about, like catacombs and nightingales, and even like the original Run would be fun, even though I'm not exactly sure if you can pulse a house with the lines now. I think that would create even more of a craziness situation. But maybe there's something different. I mean, it just depends. I think that you have to have real merchandise. Oh my God, you have to have merchandise for not just The Walking Dead. I want an actual hoodie shirt situation that does not say The Walking Dead on it. Now, I'm not against The Walking Dead. I don't really know enough about it to say anything like that, but I want Jack merch. I want Bill and Ted merchandise. That would be great. We haven't had a Bill and Ted shirt for a long time. I want one. I know next year, I guess, is the Bill and Ted anniversary at Horror Nights, so maybe next year is more of a year, but still, I want merchandise. I want to feel like it's the 25th anniversary and it's not just another year that, oh, by the way, they decided to bring back icons this year in a house or a scare zone.
Gotcha. But no, I guess, I mean, with some of the scares, yeah, you're right. Because even with the scare zone stuff that was leaked, it still kind of isn't that much pomp and circumstance, so to speak.
Yeah, hashtag Publix watch. You got it, Christopher. That's what it says in the chat room there. It's true.
Why not?
Hashtag Publix watch. See, at my job, I put together, well, I don't do it because I refuse to, but I mean, people put together standees, so we get those things and then have to put them up to promote a movie. Now, I'm sure Publix is sitting on that standee in a couple of months, and they're going to be like, when should we put this thing up? After we put it up overnight, then everyone will know everything.
Nice.
I will say right now that the good thing that I talked about on the video actually last night, when I talked about the podcast with First Class Horror, when it comes down to it, The Walking Dead. All right, let's start with The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
2012, we were in disaster, and it was fresh and new. I'm sure it seemed like it was just going to be a regular zombie house before they got the IP rights, so we'll go with that. 2013, we went to the Parade Building, and we had some different locales. Last year, we had Soundstage 25, which is one of the bigger sound stages at Universal, and they did the biggest house in the history of the event. This year, we're going back to the Parade Building, apparently. So, if that is true, then when it all boils down to it, what's going to be different? Like, apparently, from what people told me that watched the show, there really wasn't many locales this year. Like,
nope. There really wasn't.
Are we going to start in the prison? Are we going to start in Terminus? I don't watch the show, so I can't say.
It would have to start in Terminus.
Okay.
If you're going to follow it the way they've done it already over the last 2 years or 3 years, where it follows the seasons to a T, it would start in Terminus, and it would end in... the name of the town escapes me right now, and I know people in the chat room are going to yell at me for forgetting it. But it will end in this...
Alexandria.
Alexandria, yeah, that's it. And it would end there. But...
I want your show.
Alexandria it's a town with walls around it. It's not that exciting. So I wouldn't know how they would transfer that to be a house.
Okay.
Terminus... I would think just the Terminus stuff alone would be a good first half of the house, or even 3/4 of it, but I don't think that's how they would do it. Now, the other question is, there is the new spin-off show coming.
Yes, correct.
Could that potentially be more of the subject and almost act as advertising to that? Where we don't know anything.
It just depends on... Well, don't forget... We've got until September, so we have a month or so in order for Fear the Walking Dead to actually do something.
Right.
So
I can't remember when that even starts.
July or August, something like that. Okay. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm guessing. The thing is, you could see elements from Fear the Walking Dead to freshen up a little bit, but And I really would love to honestly see a dual run house, but I don't think they're going to go with that. With the way that the parade building is set up normally, if that ends up being the location, the queue line for the parade building could allow for a dual run, but I I just don't see it happening. You have to get all the floats out of the parade building and put them somewhere in order to set up two different locations. Like maybe set up like Fear on one side of the parade building and like set up The Walking Dead on the other side of the parade building if they want to do it that way. But that's a logistics nightmare.
Right.
So I don't, especially with the fact that basically the parade building, if you really look at it, is just a big giant warehouse that has a small door.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it doesn't really work that way. If we see parts of Fear the Walking Dead, I can understand that, but I don't think so. I mean, maybe like nods to it. Maybe since the fact that AMC won't let us use characters apparently unless they're dead.
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing. So we're not going to get. I think that would actually help the Walking Dead house a lot more because people can come see like Daryl with his crossbow or something like that, and I think more people would be more interested in that than some random guy that you've never seen before get attacked by a walker.
Yeah, I don't know. I love The Walking Dead. It's one of my favorite shows.
I understand that.
I'm a fan of it. However, and as much as I love zombie movies, there's only so much you can do. And it's cool to walk, like that's what the thing. It's why I love the Walking Dead houses. I loved walking through those iconic scenes. I loved seeing that. Even as scare zones. For everybody else who did not like The Walking Dead, they hated those scare zones, and I can understand it. I was in heaven. Like seeing the well walker, seeing the whole area that was all the booby traps and stuff like that. I loved it, but I can understand 100% why people don't and why people want something new. Problem is, everybody, money talks.
Yeah, they're not going to take money off the table.
No, and like I wanted to, and I'm still hoping that maybe this list is wrong, and maybe we finally see an American Horror Story house. At the end of the day, Walking Dead is probably a bigger IP.
I will say right now, this is an idea I came up with last night, and I think this would totally solve all the problems. But it may create another one if the other television properties couldn't work with the situation. I just say, let's just get rid of Shrek. Let's just gut Shrek completely. I mean, the movie's available on Netflix right now, so you can watch it right now if you really wanted to.
And just shake around a lot when you're watching it.
Yeah, exactly. Get rid of Shrek and theme it towards The Walking Dead. And maybe, like you said, Zombie Containment Unit didn't really work very well. But let's do maybe a small upcharge Walking Dead shooting experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you literally kill two birds with one stone.
Yep.
And then it does not have to take up a house. It does not have to take up a scare zone. And we could say, and now also featuring the Walking Dead experience.
Yeah. That would be kind of cool. And you can keep it year round too.
Exactly. Yep. And everyone, I know a lot of people are talking about American Horror Story. You mentioned that too. It sounds to me like the content of American Horror Story doesn't really fit the kind of event that Halloween Horror Nights has to be because of the content. I don't see Horror Nights being able to turn into like an R-rated event. It's more like hard PG-13 at this point, to say the least. So, I mean, I've seen R-rated stuff at Halloween Horror Nights, but like the gore levels, and like the sensuality, stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, it's basically a PG-13 event. It's like a hard PG-13 event. So American Horror Story would take it into a whole new level. And apparently there's this laundry list of things. Like, I don't know exactly what they are because obviously I don't have any way of knowing this. But what we've all heard is the fact that American Horror Story has a bunch of things that Ryan Murphy wants in the house.
Okay.
Universal can't do them. And neither side wants to bend. So, although if they would give an IP to an extreme house, American Horror Story would probably fit quite well. I would think that you probably won't see American Horror Story at the event because they had enough opportunities to do it. They've had it announced for another year, and it fell through at the last minute. And, they've got Hotel coming up, and it depends on how well that does. eventually all these properties, all these television shows everybody's watching now, people are going to stop watching. And eventually people are going to stop watching The Walking Dead because apparently now it's becoming more of a drama than a horror show anyway.
I don't know. So do you watch the show or no?
No, never have, never will.
Okay. Freak Show lends itself 100% perfectly for a house.
I agree with that.
Even as far as Asylum or the first, basically season 1 is your typical standard haunted house, American haunted house story. Done.
Yep.
Season 2, Insane Asylum. Done.
We've got that.
Season 3, Witches. That season sucked. We can skip that one. Season 4, Freak Show, Circus. Yeah, Jack the Clown, and they could have kind of maybe melded it together a little bit, but probably not because you don't want to steal away the thunder from Jack.
Correct.
But I cannot think of anything in any of the seasons of American Horror Story that could not be done after the fact that I walked through From Dusk Till Dawn.
From Dusk Till Dawn is basically pushing the envelope pretty heavy, though.
Like, that movie was Vampire Porkies. Like, it was just...
That's a way to look at it.
And the fact that, I mean, I hated walking in there and seeing just the Twister when I know Bill and Ted can get away with a lot more language than that. I hated that personally, but I understood it because their thing was that it was a written. So I don't know if you did the tour last year that included From Dusk Till Dawn, but how they were mentioning, like, of course, our group, I think it was myself actually, asked why was it just the Twister when Bill and Ted could use so much more foul language than that. And it was basically the visual versus the audio.
Correct.
Seeing it is harder than hearing it. And I was like, sure. Okay, then. So I don't see anything American Horror Story that would be too much stretching the envelope. Like they don't have, well, they have like female or male butt nudity. Whatever. There's no female nudity. There's not that much sex. I mean, it's not really that much worse than anything else they've already done. But I don't know. I think it would be awesome, and I'm still hoping that one year it will happen.
I don't think that Walking Dead will play second fiddle. I don't think that American Horror Story would play second fiddle. So as long as one is at the event, I don't think you'll see the other. But that's just me.
Okay. Yeah, and that I can understand more unless they do one at each coast and alternate every other year, which would maybe, kill the overdoneness of The Walking Dead in Orlando if they go back and forth every other year. Like, just going gaming related, how Call of Duty has a game every year, but it's 3 different studios doing it now. So you always have a different studio and a different take on the game. If you had Hollywood have Walking Dead and Orlando have American Horror Story, and then they switch every year, different seasons and stuff, so there's never repeating content, and there's never the 2 properties in the same location. I mean, that's just wishful thinking again, though.
I gotcha. I think that maybe taking a break and then going back to it again, if you really had to, it probably would help with the oversaturation.
Yeah.
Because oversaturation is just killing things right now. And I know a lot of people just hate The Walking Dead now. And these are people that were diehard television show watchers.
Yep.
And now they're like, you know what? I tapped out on The Walking Dead. I won't ever hear that theme music ever again.
Yep.
So, I would talk about what we have coming up as well. So Walking Dead, and it's here, and it's going to be here for the foreseeable future. So I guess people just need to get used to it. Then next year it leaves, and we're like, "Hey, everyone's correct." It's like, we lied. It's back. Okay. The potential return of a house from 2 years ago.
I'm okay with this.
I'm completely okay with this.
I had from In the Loop, I had Drew the intern mention that so soon. And the way I looked at it was this. It's their 25th anniversary. They're going to want to bring back their most popular house, their most critically acclaimed house. Now, I have only been to 2 years, so I can only say what I've gone through. But looking at the reviews from every other site, when that thing came out, American Werewolf in London was the most popular and critically acclaimed house they have ever done in their 24-year history by that point. 23. Sorry.
Yeah, it's definitely. I would say it's funny because this year we're getting, if this rumor list is correct, we're getting the top house from Orlando, even though it was 2 years ago, and one of the top houses in Hollywood, if not the top. So,
yeah.
I mean, it does make sense from that perspective, but like I said, just for the fact that the event's been going on for 25 years now, and then it's awesome, but it just doesn't feel right. It feels more like a 30, not a 25.
Right. I gotcha.
But I am extremely happy to go through it because when it comes down to it, it is probably, like, depending on what day you ask me, it's like 1A or 1B for me. When it comes to favorite houses I've ever been through. Now, granted, it's only been a couple years, but still, I mean, I did go through it a bunch of times. So it's kind of like what Christopher Torres was saying. When it comes down to it, when it's all said and done, The Walking Dead, yeah, we got it back. Some people are going to be happy. Some people are not. When it comes down to it, maybe American Werewolf in London is like the Band-Aid. It's like, it's hurting. It's hurting. Hey, here's Werewolf. Oh, it's better now. We're all better now. Everything's fine. All of us that take the tours and get awesome selfies with the werewolf, because I didn't get that when I did the tour last time. I just took them without myself in them. But we all get selfies with the werewolf now. Everything's good with the go. And yeah, you have Walking Dead, but you may have like 7, 8, maybe even 9 other houses to go through. So people will go there, and that'll be the end of it. And if it stays at the place that it sounds like it's going to, I'll hit that thing first, and I won't look back.
I still think it's only the pure hardcore Horror Nights fans that actually are the ones complaining about The Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. Much like in the roller coaster area, it's really only a small handful of people. But since we're so involved in it through YouTubing and websites and everything like that, we see it so much more in the forefront. But when you look at the general public, Joe Blow, who goes to Horror Nights once every year, doesn't go on any of the websites or give a rat's ass, they see Walking Dead and they're happy. So I mean, you look at the line, end of story. Every year, what has the longest line? Right?
Well, okay, it takes the plaza up and all those wonderful switchbacks and the trivia on the big screen. that was great too, to kill time when you weren't playing Heads Up, which is what we all were doing in line.
Yep, pretty much.
I would say right now, when it comes down to it, yeah, there is going to be a line for The Walking Dead, and that's something that people just have to understand. But here's the thing. I don't think it's as popular as people think it is. I don't think enough people want it as much as people think that they want it. And I think that more people are upset to the point that they don't want to go through it than people that do. The lines, they could honestly just be blamed on a couple of things. You have people that want to go through it. You have the people that go through it because they're completists and they want to hit every house in a night. And you have people that want to go through it first so they can get it out of the way, because if not, they're going to be waiting 2.5 hours for it.
Correct.
And I didn't want to wait 2.5 hours for The Walking Dead, so I only did it 4 times last year.
Only
4 times, yeah. I have the list of all the things I did last year. It's a nice one, yeah. The most I went through anything was 8 times.
Wow.
But I was there for a while.
Yeah, I was going to say, you go for a while. I'm jealous of that.
Yeah, that's because I don't care about money anymore. I probably should, but I just don't. It's the only splurge I have all year, so.
I try not to think of it.
Yeah. The credit card bill will be there when I get back.
Sadly, yes.
Universal Studio Store, Cowfish, Cabana Bay. What's going on here?
Don't forget Trader Sam's now.
You know it. I'm going to definitely give drinks to people that are sitting at the bar just so I can get the cup.
Yeah, pretty much, right?
That will happen. So anybody that's around whenever I'm going to be at Trader Sam's, you may get free alcohol as long as I'm able to get the cup for it.
So what you're saying is we need to go to Trader Sam's together when I'm there so that you can buy me my drinks.
Well, I'm not going to buy anything.
I'll take the alcohol.
You drink the alcohol, I'll buy the cup. We'll split it half and half.
There you go.
And it's funny because another thing, too, that allow for that line is the fact that it's close to Rocket. And Rocket's really popular during Horror Nights as well, because it's really fun to, even though the Rocket gets a lot of flack, it's kind of okay to better to ride the Rocket at night sometimes. Mm-hmm. The way it's lit up and everything. So, I mean, there's lines for the rocket during Horror Nights with the new metal detectors that are apparently now permanent. I don't know how many people are going to be doing that this year, but
yeah, it should be interesting to see all those situations with Horror Nights on at the same time.
I'm really curious to see where we go with this. But by and large, Werewolf, if it does come back, I don't think it's the same as we had in 2013. I don't think it's the same maze that Hollywood had last year. I think it's different in some ways, and I think that there's got to be a reason, and I don't mean just to save money. I think there's A&D had a reason to do Werewolf this year, and I think that that's the one thing people aren't focusing on.
Do you think they do Paris instead of London?
Yay, I get to see Tom Everett Scott. Sweet. No.
Obviously not as well reviewed, but maybe.
Not unless he's wearing the shades from That Thing You Do. If he is, then I'm totally down. But no. I think it's still London, honestly. Okay. I think that, like I said, maybe we might see a couple new scenes potentially. Maybe some scenes that Hollywood got that we didn't. Maybe some new stuff that we didn't focus on either coast.
Right.
But like I said, I think there's a reason for it, and I have no issues going through Werewolf again. It's a spectacular house.
Nope, that's the first house I hit every single time I was there that year, because we did the Stay and Scream, and I just boom, right there, just like this year or 24 rather. It was Alien versus Predator right there.
That's exactly what I did. All the way to Paxton Land and head towards the house.
Yep. Now, I'm also intrigued that if the rumors of Twister either being rethemed or potentially closed down, I wonder if that may have any impact on the extended queue that they use for the mazes.
It's possible, because if you notice with Werewolf, they actually use the Twister queue, and with AVP, they actually use like a couple doors down that look like the day. I know it wasn't the Daily Planet, but you know what I'm talking about, like the newspaper office doors, like the Metropolis doors.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know what the queue situation is going to be like this year. I think it might be rather interesting, to be honest.
Yep, I'm intrigued to see what they do with that.
I'm kind of nervous about a couple of things, but that's another story altogether. If Werewolf goes where, see, there's this map that a fan posted, and it seems to be, well, obviously we're not going to have a real map for a while, but there's a couple things. You hear a couple things that Werewolf could go back in the same soundstage it was in previously. Or there's a possibility Werewolf could end up going where From Dusk Till Dawn was last year and be right in the front of the park, being the first thing that you walk into before you get to anything else. Mm-hmm. But we don't know anything until we actually get a real map, and we're not going to get a real map for a couple more months at least. So I'd say we're not getting a map till summertime, because that makes the most sense.
Yep.
So let's see. Let's talk about something I don't really like. That's Insidious.
Okay, and you don't like it because?
The first movie I think's really overrated. I never really liked it. The second film was a little bit more entertaining, and I actually did dig that movie. Actually made me look at Patrick Wilson in a whole different way. And this one, the trailer for this one actually looks a little bit better. So maybe I need to go back and rewatch one, because just to think that if we're going to be getting Insidious this year, if that ends up happening actually, I think that we're going to get a best of all three. I think if Hollywood gets it back this year, I think they just focus on 3 because they've already had their house. But I think we're going to get like a best of, and then maybe like going more deeper into the further, and maybe like original stuff based upon like original concept art that was given first before to Universal, possibly.
Possibly, yeah. Insidious 1 is up there actually as one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I dug the hell out of it, from the music and the audio and everything like that, and just the story in general. I thought it was a great, well-made movie with an awesome ending, and I was jealous when Hollywood got Insidious. I was hoping that Orlando would one of the years that I was there.
Everybody said the same thing, Josh. I heard it from everybody. It's like, why is Insidious not here? It's just not, okay? It's not here. Why is it not here this year? It's just not, okay? It's 25. Why is Insidious not here? Well, it's actually coming this year. Really?
I don't know if I would see them going back to part 1 or even part 2. I just think marketing, PR, and pimp out what's new. That's how I see it.
But it's the first time we've had it though. That's the thing. If it does end up happening, I would say that if we're getting it that it's brand new, maybe we will go back to a couple of things from 1 and 2.
Maybe like a really quick couple, like first 2 or 3 rooms or something like that, to kind of just get you the backstory, and then boom, throw you into the primary, whatever part 3 ends up being about.
Yeah, more deeper into the further. It's funny because Red Steel TV mentioned, I didn't get a chance to really talk about this till just now, that Texas Chainsaw Massacre back in business, La Llorona, Insidious, and Friday the 13th, Kill Jason Kill are basically Hollywood's elite. So that's like their greatest accomplishments when it comes to mazes and when it comes to fan favorites. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out of there. So I want to get that information out to people that are unaware, and I was unaware, so yeah, thank you very much. Red Steel TV is very appreciated.
Right.
Insidious is a house. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Chris is telling me in the podcast, actually in the chat room, that this actually might be my favorite. Well, considering you have my favorite house of all time and you have my favorite horror movie of all time in the same year, it's going to have to fight to get that favorite spot.
Yeah, I'm excited if they do have Insidious. I don't care, even if it is the new one or if it is going back to the original. I'm fine with it. I love the property, so I think it's a great idea.
I can understand that. I mean, maybe I need to go back and watch it. I mean, like it's on the same par with Drag Me to Hell. I know a lot of people love that movie, but I just did not like it at all.
Ironically, neither did I. That was a huge letdown. Everybody built it up. I watched it. I liked the ending. That was it.
Yeah.
I thought the movie was a huge letdown, and just for me, it did not do it.
That would require me to be interested in it in the first place. So, what else we got here? I'm purposely saving something. Obviously,
I wonder what.
Gee, I wonder. Speaking of something that I've been talking about for a long time, I know it's something that they've been wanting to do for a while, but they finally crossed the T's and dotted the lowercase J's to get them to work out this year, apparently. And that is, yes, exactly what Josh is pointing to right now. Picture frame versus picture frame. Right.
Yes.
The house.
Freddy versus Jason. Oh my God.
And it's something that I know a lot of people have been wanting for a while. I know the big rumors were about doing a Carnival of Carnage year this year, doing like a Carnival of Carnage 2 and bringing back the new line 3 with Freddy, Jason, and Leatherface. But I said, and I don't want to like pat myself on the back or Barry Horowitz myself here, but when it comes down to it, it seemed the most likely that we weren't going to get both houses. We were just going to throw them into one. And this is a property that both coasts wants. And when it comes down to it, both coasts, I think, are going to get it this year. And I think both houses will be exponentially different than the other.
Potentially, yeah. I mean,
AVP was the same way.
It was funny because AVP was not based on the movie.
Nope.
It was a purely original idea. Now, do you think they go with that? Do you think they go with an original idea for these houses?
Well, here's the thing. I know a lot of people. It's funny because I know a lot of people that like Freddy vs. Jason, the movie. And I know people that are just fans of Freddy and Jason and just want to see them fight.
Right.
So you could go different ways. Obviously, we've done Nightmare before. We've done Friday the 13th before. And they were iconic in their own way. I think that we go in a different path this time around. I think that this may be original, like an original concept based upon what we've had in the movie. Maybe some of the iconic kills. I mean, if I don't see Jason killing the sleeping bag girls, I'm going to be really upset.
Yep.
The rave and the rave, which I love to this day. Mm-hmm. I think the rave is awesome. And I really want to see at least 2 actual battles between Freddy and Jason. Granted, I know that the point is to actually scare us, the customer, but still, I mean, I want to see Freddy and Jason fight.
It's funny you mentioned that, is because that was my biggest letdown of Alien versus Predator.
Yep, same here.
It was Alien and Predator. It was not Alien and Versus. It was not a Versus at all.
No, it wasn't. I agree.
I think some of the iconic stuff within Freddy versus Jason has to happen. I don't know how you could do it. I mean, I want to see it end with the way the movie ended. I want to see, spoiler alert for anybody who's not seen the movie. This one, I don't care about spoiling. But
nice.
I want to see Jason holding Freddy's head.
I think we probably will.
That has to happen at some point. But I would also love for them to spin off, because I mean, there's always been rumors of a Freddy versus Jason 2. Obviously, it was left open for one. I mean, that thing could go on till the end of time because none of them will ever die. It's just inevitable. But there's been no rumors of it, and I would love to see them expand on that. In there was actually a comic or like a graphic novel that I have, that Freddy versus Jason versus Ash.
I've heard that too.
Yes, I would love to see them expand on that. And they're, again, getting the 25th anniversary stuff into it, is mix in a Universal monster, maybe something, an icon, maybe. I don't know. Again, I dream big, buddy. I dream very big.
Well, I do too. Trust me.
I don't think of logistics or legalities. I just want it to happen and make me happy.
Yes, we must have it happen now. Yeah. Water and fire. Yes, I totally agree, Chris. 100%. Poseidon's Fury hosts Freddy versus Jason.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
Yes,
great idea.
That would be a great location for Freddy versus Jason.
Yes.
It won't happen, but it would be awesome because you have literally water and fire.
Yep. I'm down for that.
Could you imagine the water effects and everything, and they're fighting on top of the platform, and you're just watching it on the outside looking in? I think it'd be amazing.
Yep. And they could like put LED lights into the water to make it look like blood, kind of like the waterbed scene.
Yeah, but
I'll get that in there.
There's rights issues and logistics issues that would never let that happen. But like you said, you don't care about these things.
No, I don't. Don't ruin my dreams.
These are blue sky ideas. See my blue wall and my white ceiling? That's blue sky right there. All right. Dr. Brown 1, my friend Vic, also another one of the Horror Nights updaters. Shout out to him as well. He mentioned that AVPs in Orlando was basically just Aliens versus Predator, being Aliens featuring Predator. Yep. So it was basically an Aliens house with Predator walking around every once in a while.
Yep. That's true. It looked amazing, though. When I saw the Hollywood version, looked incredible, like with the Queen alien at the end, looked amazing. Yeah,
I agree.
I mean, it looked great. It did the part visually, and being another house with massive puppets like Werewolf was. I loved it, but it was not what it was advertised as.
There was a time that I would only see one Predator in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I had one run through when I actually had a xenomorph puppet on one side of me, and I had an actual Predator on the other side of me. So I was like right in the middle of them.
Yep.
And that was awesome, but it only happened once.
Yeah. Whereas if you take the American Werewolf, there's one scene in the underground when you had, I don't know if it was a cop or what it was on the left that would distract you, and then Werewolf come out from the right. I knew that was coming every time, and I still got scared every time.
Yeah, when that werewolf puppet would have just lunged forward, it was just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to see it again. The thing is, though, it's funny because the people that weren't able to go through the actual finale of AVP pretty much missed out. And it's a shame because I know there was problems with, like, people have back problems, people that are unable to do it for health reasons. I totally understand they had to miss that. But when it comes down to it, I mean, what the other option was, let's walk around, and that's it. Yep. You walk around a black curtain, and that was the end of the house for you if you couldn't go underneath the tunnel, go underneath the duck down and get the final scare from the xenomorph on the right-hand side.
Exactly.
Which was a shame, because if you couldn't do it because of health reasons, you shouldn't have had your experience ruined like that. I mean,
yep.
I mean, Dracula Untold was one of the worst houses I've ever been through in my life, but it had handrails, so at least it had that going for it.
This is true.
Shout out to my friend Neil UKHHN from the Horror Nights Updaters for that, putting that in my head. Yeah, the Colonial Marines in AVP, like Vic was saying in the chat, were basically Hicks, Hudson, and Vasquez. So
yeah,
it was aliens. It's exactly what it was. That's what everybody thought it was going to be, was aliens, but they just threw Predator in there. It's just like, hey, let's do this versus house. Wait a minute, isn't there this other versus property we might want to do down the line? Maybe another year, and another year maybe now.
I would love to have just seen them do 1 year Aliens, 1 year Predator, third year Alien versus Predator.
That would have made sense, or maybe like an AVP scare zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what the logistics of doing puppets outside are, but I mean, I know that Jurassic Park Q in Hollywood is where they did Werewolf, and some of that's outdoors. So,
yeah,
anybody out in the chat can let me know how they handled the weather and the elements in Hollywood for their werewolf maze. Yeah, Christopher didn't like the duck down scene. Yeah,
I don't like crawling.
Yeah, I understand that, and it's annoying, but it was funny because my first house I ever went through was House of Horrors in 2012, and that was one of the first things I had to do was crawl. So I was used to it. And then 2013, we did The Walking Dead, and it was funny because I was filming that time. So I was crouched down, filming with my tablet, trying to get good video. The videos are terrible quality, but at least I got them. And I was crouched down, and I was trying to film it at once. It was the most uncomfortable thing I've had to do in a long time. Let's see.
Nice.
What else we got here? Yeah, I'm saving it for last. All right. So apparently we're going to be getting a really awesome original this year. A really awesome original that harkens back to some fan favorites being thrust into one place at the same time.
I'm getting over to that section of this article here.
Yeah, it sounds yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, Chris, I didn't have a problem with it either, but when it comes down to it, it was fun to try to film and duck at the same time. I just had to throw that out there. So if you ever are filming at Halloween Horror Nights and you're ducked down, it's just awkward. But I'm short, so it's not as awkward as it could be. I could almost fully stand up in the crouch in AVP, to be totally honest, and I tried to during the Unmasking the Horror tour.
Nice.
Mario Pena says they had a tent over Werewolf and it pretty much only rained once. Yeah, I know the song. It never rains in Southern California. That's funny because the only time I've ever been to California, it rained every day. So there. All right. This looks really interesting. We had two code words that have been announced on the official Horror Nights Orlando Twitter, and one of them is Blizzard, and one of them is Party. Party seemed to be skipped over by most of us, but some of us caught it, and Blizzard was pretty obvious. It's going to be a house that's going to be set in Dairy Queen, and it's going to be your video game house that you really want, Josh.
Done. Awesome.
Sweet. I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream.
I'll go for that.
That's what the house is literally called, and I want to see that on the back of a shirt.
No abbreviating that.
Hashtag Blutterscotch.
That's a good idea.
Well, considering Clowns 3D did it last year, so that was an awesome concept that I kind of wish I could have seen. No, Blizzard sounds really interesting because apparently what happens is, from what everybody's saying, these lists that have been gotten out, there is a colossal blizzard. And this blizzard takes place in the 1800s. And apparently there's going to be a collaboration, including Shady Brook Asylum and the Gentlemen, the Body Collectors.
Cool.
Which I am super excited for because I have not got a chance to experience either one of these things before. So if this is true, I really want to see this.
Yeah, and like you, I've never experienced it as well. What I've seen of it and of those characters look amazing. I think the idea would be great. I like the ideas for this as an original. I want to see more original houses at Horror Nights. So
I agree.
I'm happy to see that, and especially ones that were so well reviewed. So I'm in for this, even though I don't know too much about the backstory. That's what Wikipedia is for, or your YouTube page.
Exactly. the thing, cheap plug. The thing is, I know a lot of people really wanted to see the Nightingales return this year, and I know a lot of people were talking about the collaboration of Nightingales versus Plague Doctors, and like talking about the Catacombs, and Body Collectors have a great little situation going for themselves because they don't really have a place and time that they're stuck to. They can go anywhere at any time. So apparently they're being relocated to this blizzard for whatever reason, and it's happening during some sort of an outbreak at Shady Brook, since apparently they can't keep their inmates quiet long enough to do anything. So there's always chaos at Shady Brook. So I'm really curious to see how this actually works out, to be honest.
Yep. This is going to be the part of the podcast where I get a little quiet since I don't know too much about the backstories.
Nice.
But I'll feed in there every now and again.
Okay. Let's say right now, let's talk about what could end up in disaster, and that is the fact that the third version of Run. We have the first version of Run, which is basically pretty much the Running Man in all essence, like a knockoff of the Running Man, but not quite.
Right.
And the Run concept introduced everyone to our favorite icon that never was, and that's Eddie. And Eddie's backstory is phenomenal if they would have went through it. But unfortunately, the unfortunate events of our world in September 11th happened, and Eddie had to be completely changed for what he was going to be. And which is a shame, because there were some really awesome things that the character Eddie was going to have before this ended up not happening. Run had a second house, which was hostile territory. Apparently, it was kind of like a hostile house, like a hostile style house, like torture porn, stuff like that. And this one, I don't know. I don't know what it would be. The thing is, when you have houses like this, I know that apparently from what I heard from people that have went through it, Run was pulsed. And you've seen the crowds at Disaster. I'm not exactly sure how you can pulse a house at Disaster without alienating 1,000 people in line.
Well, I mean, the good thing about the Disaster houses are that it is usually the short one.
Normally, yes.
So, I mean, that's got one little benefit towards it. But no, I mean, pulsing just period at Horror Nights is not something that, unfortunately, really works or could work, in my opinion. I don't see it happening. Not with the crowds. No, not now. It's especially when it's the 25th anniversary and you're going to basically be pimping out that this is going to be the largest event ever. It's going to be tough.
Express passes have helped and hurt Horror Nights in every way possible.
Mm-hmm.
And the overselling of Express passes really have hurt Halloween Horror Nights.
Yes, that I agree with. I mean, I do Horror Nights. I do the Express Pass rather on the Saturday night of the event that I'm there because it's a Saturday. But it's funny on a complete aside is all these people talk about how they go to Horror Nights, and I guess they go later in the event compared to when I go, and they're like, I only was able to get into 3 houses in a night.
Yep.
Both times I went, like even last year on a Saturday, before we even touched the Express Passes, we got through pretty much all of the houses, especially the Thursday night. Thursday night, we breezed through everything with no issue and time to spare and even relaxing to watch Bill and Ted. But the Saturday night was a little bit of a challenge. What was that?
That has to happen.
Oh, yeah. Bill and Ted has to happen. I mean,
every single night I'm at the event, I'm at Bill and Ted at least once.
Yeah, I almost did it twice last year on the Saturday. I really wanted to go back because it was such a good show.
Yes.
Let it go. Hashtag.
Hashtag the other one.
Yeah.
The thing is... That's all I'm going to say. So, Run should be interesting if it actually happens. A lot of possible chance that Eddie may not be in this house again, but maybe Eddie will be somewhere else in the event. Maybe he could end up in a scare zone, or he could possibly end up in a house somewhere. Who knows?
Now, is Eddie the character that's somewhat related to Jack the Clown?
Correct.
Storyline? Okay, that's what I thought. All right. Eddie's the one with like the purple hair or something like that, right?
He's the one that has like the mask across his face and he has the chainsaw.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah. He was the one that was the original icon for 2001 before they had to flip everything around because of September 11th.
Correct.
And they brought Jack back, and they had a really awesome backstory for him, like a really crazy like horror fan named Edgar Sawyer who saw way too many horror movies. And he kind of just went crazy, and apparently the opening night of the event, he was going to kill Jack and take over. But all this had to be changed because of what happened. So I'd love to have seen what Eddie would have been if he actually would have stayed with what he was going to be. Let's see what else we got here. This is an interesting one. Apparently, we're going to be going to Wonderland, and we're going to be going into there in 3D.
I'm okay with this.
It's interesting. There's a lot of really, really freaky things you can do with Lewis Carroll's work. So,
Oh, for sure.
especially Alice in Wonderland.
When you stop thinking that it's just a Disney movie and you realize that it's actually not a Disney original content,
No.
then you start like, okay, you can really do some crazy wacky stuff. I mean, they did a scare zone for this Asylum in Wonderland.
Yep.
Right? So, I mean, they could totally nail this as a whole house. Up here at Canada's Wonderland during our Halloween haunt, we always have a basically a whole fairy tale type of ride or type of house rather that goes through like Goldilocks and Alice in Wonderland and everything. I would love to see a Universal version of this, pure gore, sexy Alice. Like I'm down for this completely. I'd rather it again as a scare zone, but I mean, I guess with a house you could do a little bit more. Even because it's rumored to be a tent house from what I'm hearing, which is okay. I mean, I think Halloween last year proved, and even Dollhouse kind of proved you could go above and beyond what tent houses really could do.
Yeah, I love the sprung tents. I think they've come a long way in a very short amount of time.
Yep.
And plus, if this works, and I'm sure it will, whether it's going to be possibly Alice in Wonderland or if it's going to be based upon Asylum in Wonderland, given the fact 25 years make me think we're getting scare zones as houses and vice versa, then maybe this could be something that a lot of people have been wanting to see, and that would be a really messed up Willy Wonka house somewhere down the line.
That would be cool, too. Actually, in the chat room, GoSex Tim 8 makes a really good point. American McGee's Alice.
Yes.
That would be amazing. And not only that, that could be your video game tie-in too, because that was an awesome game. So
that's a good point.
That would be amazing if they went pure American McGee Alice.
And the idea that I've had is something that I don't know if they'll go with this year or not, but it'd be kind of cool. I really got into Face Off.
Yep.
And because I knew it was coming to the event last year and I wanted to start watching the show, and I started really watching the show and getting into it.
I was watching it on my plane ride there.
There was obviously they did their House of Horrors last year, the last year of House of Horrors before they took it down. And one of the major spots of that house was Alice in Wonderland themed. What if, given the fact that we're going to start our new season of Face Off in a couple months, what if they have to create Alice in Wonderland creations that we end up seeing in a house?
Yep. Totally.
That's a possibility. Or maybe like they did the Universal Monsters thing, like they did like the Frankenstein character and like a couple years ago. So, I mean, it could work. It could be a nice tie-in with Face Off and co-promote the new season, even though it's going to be over by then, but still.
They're all about the co-promotion, though, and that's why I keep thinking is you got to start thinking more of the, think more of the business side of things rather than what makes sense, right? Like it's business. At the end of the day, you've got a studio that promotes TV shows and makes movies and all this stuff. You got to kind of give and take there. So you got to think about it that way. I would love it. That'd be awesome.
I think that it would work really well too if they actually went with it, but I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. And I've never been a 3D guy because honestly, I don't wear the glasses in the house. I just kind of go through it. And it's funny to watch a character come up to you whenever you're not wearing glasses. They're like, they kind of step back like, I'm not going to scare him because he's not wearing these glasses on his face. So
yeah, I'm not a big 3D fan as well in terms of that. It's okay when done right, but it's never been a reason for me to want to go see a house.
I can understand that.
So,
I don't know how Hello Scream does their 3D. So a Circus of Superstition. So
same as any other one.
Okay,
it's just accents and stuff like that. It doesn't really. I think what was the one 3D house at 23?
Afterlife.
Yeah, I didn't mind that one actually. That one wasn't too bad.
I liked it.
That was probably the best 3D house at any of Horror Nights or Halloween event that I've ever been to be honest.
I really want to do the in-between because I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. And I really hope that if there is a best of house in some form, one way or another, that we get a scene from the in-between because I've not experienced it and I really want to.
Yep. That would be cool.
All right, where are we? We are on...
Hallowed Past 2.
Yeah, that's funny because a lot of people are saying now it seems like this is more like Horror Night Nightmares too. Um, it's interesting because Halloween Past, I can understand. Basically, it was like a best of house, and a lot of people were saying that this is going to be just like another version of that. A lot more people now are saying this is going to be an icon house, and if that's going to be the case, this is where we may see Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
This is the place that we might see Cindy. This is the place that we might see Fear. Or I know a lot of people are going to groan when I say this, but Lady Luck. This is the place where we might see, I mean, and granted, now we never really introduced Fate or Jill, but who knows? Maybe the nighttime's the right time. But this is definitely going to be where Jack, one of the many places Jack shines this year. I said in November that he was going to get a house, a street, and a scare zone, and I think a house, a show, and a scare zone. And I think that I'm going to stick to that statement.
You answered a question I was just thinking of, actually, was where is Jack in all of this event?
But Jack is Skynet. He is everywhere. Jack is Skynet this year. He is everywhere. I think that you see him. I think you see him in the commercial in one form or another. I think you see him, obviously, we'll go with the banners that we have outside on the arch. I think that returns this year because it's been that way for the last several years. I do think that he has a mini show of some sort because it just makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think he ends up in a house, and I think he ends up in a scare zone. I think this is going to be very Jack-centric this year, and that's how it should be. I said many times, Jack the Clown is the Mickey Mouse of Halloween Horror Nights.
Yep.
And it's very true.
Yep, it's a perfect way to say it.
Just like my friend Jen said that The Walking Dead is the Frozen of Halloween Horror Nights. It just won't go away. So, real quick, before we continue anything else, Will asked me one more question. He asked when Islands of Adventure was going to get Horror Nights again.
I don't know. I'm intrigued to see if maybe they dip a little bit into it, but I don't think it would work well. I would love to see
paths.
Yeah. It just there's so many restrictions within there. I mean, you can't go touch the Seuss Landing.
Nope.
You can't touch Potter.
Nope.
So that means you can't get to the area where Mythos is. So that whole side of the park is done. You can't even touch that.
You can end at Lost Continent if you really want to go there.
Yeah, I guess don't you have to go through Seuss Landing or through Potter to get there?
You could always go through Jurassic Park and Marvel.
Oh, right. Okay. I forgot there was that other. Okay. Yep. You're right.
But I don't think Marvel would be used either.
No. There's not a proper layout at Islands of Adventure for it to happen. Now, I don't know what there is behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's a way that they can use property behind stuff that you get into still through studios.
Grinch.
Yeah.
Like Grinchmas. Grinchmas is the perfect example. Grinchmas is a soundstage over on studio side, but you go through Iowa to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of backstage areas that you could go through if they really want to push it that way. And that's also how you can get to the Carnage Warehouse, which is a location that was built for Halloween Horror Nights, and it's been used once.
Yep.
Which is a shame.
I still have little light bulb went off to another house that I would love to see happen, or even if it's just a scare zone, and that is the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror.
I don't think legalities would ever let it happen.
I know. That's the sad part of it. I would have figured that maybe the Simpsons people would let that happen compared to Harry Potter ever letting something in there. But man, would I love that.
It'd be a lot easier dealing with Simpsons than dealing with Potter.
Exactly.
I don't think either one are believable to happen ever, but I do think that Potter would probably be a lot harder to get the access to.
Oh, Potter will never happen. J.K. Rowling is just...
But, honestly, I don't think that she cares as much as everyone says she does, but I don't have any information to prove otherwise, so I don't really know. I know that when they did use Seuss before, it was when they did the Treeks and Foons, and they had the foam everywhere, and they had lights, and I mean, it could be a walkthrough of a scare zone, but you really can't put anything there. I mean, you could put something in Toon Lagoon.
Mm-hmm.
You can use Popeye and Bluto's Q. You could use Poseidon's Fury. You could use like I said, if you want to do like the crossover, the tent that is used for Grinchmas to go over to studio side, I mean, technically you can use that if you really wanted to. But by and large, I don't think, even though the event is big enough for 2 parks, I think the logistics may be a little crazy.
I was gonna say, like, outside of crowd control by a lot, getting into that second park, I don't see any benefit to it. I think the event is a perfect size as it is. Maybe add a couple more houses. The crowd control is already an issue, and I get that. I think it is tough, especially later on in the event. But I don't know. I don't see any benefit to opening it up to islands, as in I have to go into islands to get to said house.
Mm-hmm.
But if they could find a way to connect the park's backstage areas and utilize some of that with different walkways and stuff like that, that they've, just create new areas to get backstage. Because, I mean, it is just but the parks are side by side.
Yeah,
so I'm
you
sure
can
that
do
could be
it.
possible.
You could definitely do it.
I'd rather see that than actually have to go into islands as a whole separate thing.
Well, Toon Lagoon Theater has not been used in a minute, and I'm telling you, Bill and Ted there is something that's really awesome. And it's a lot bigger than Fear Factor is, and that would help considerably. You have the Jurassic Park Discovery Center, which had some great houses there in the past. They could definitely utilize that. I mean, there's reasons to do things in IOA, but I think Studios fits better. Mm-hmm. The problem is maybe it's outgrowing it at this point, because every year we get more and more people. So the audience is getting bigger every year. I mean, we may lose a couple people every year, but we're going to get a couple people every year. So eventually it's going to get to the point that you're going to have to. And it seems like every year there's like murmurs about the fact that it's going to be 2 parks this year. But at the last minute, they decide, we can't really do that. I mean, Grad Bash can get away with it, but Horror Nights can't right now.
Right. I honestly thought this was going to be a 2-park event, just being that it's a 25th anniversary. I just thought it was going to be something special.
30.
But that's my next guess. Mm-hmm. Is if not 25, then maybe 30.
I think 30 is going to be really big this year. Honestly, I think the year of Horror Nights 30 is going to be really big. The anniversary year that everybody wanted for this year, I think it's going to be 30.
Yep.
Because it's, like I said, 3 decades. So, I mean, 3 decades of content you can pull from.
That's a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah, and then something we saw in 28 would be at the event too. So to keep up with what we've had normally.
I was gonna say 29.
If you want to go with the way we are going right now, we'll get Halloween back next year.
Also, wouldn't complain about that.
Neither would I. Okay, what else we got? So yeah, the icons are going to end up basically around, and there's another house, isn't there? Yeah, there is.
Yeah, that might be. I mean, we don't have to talk about it,
Oh, yes, we do. Okay, here's the thing. I'm not a horror guy. Growing up, I never was. And I've told many stories about the reason why I'm not a horror guy. But then I found Scream. And it was just what I needed. Just what I needed to get me into horror. I mean, it was a slasher. It was smart. It was funny. It was intense in places. It was a storyline I could deal with. And back in those days, like a mask like Jason or a mask like Leatherface or like the face of Freddy in general, like would freak me out considerably. Ghostface wasn't necessarily like really scary, but I thought Ghostface was fun. Yep. Really, really fun movies that I could totally get into, not being a horror fan. It's kind of like how a lot of people probably not horror fans took to Cabin in the Woods. Yep. That's the best comparison I can think of. And after Scream, there was this little movie called Brain Scan I really liked that most people have never heard of. And like the zombie stuff, House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects, and like the Saw movies, Hostel 1 only. And except for the Matarazzo killing it too, that's pretty sweet. But even though we basically got that in all essence in From Dusk Till Dawn last year.
Yep.
And I said that, so there. I think, I totally agree with this. The horror genre was kind of going through a little rebuilding process in the late 90s, and it needed a jolt, it needed a boost, and Scream was exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yep.
And exactly what worked for me. And I don't care what it gets. I don't care if it gets a soundstage. I don't care if it gets sprung. I don't care what it gets at this point. I said a long time ago, this is the house I want. I mean, Freddy and Jason, fine, great, wonderful. The Walking Dead, okay, sure. Insidious, maybe. But Werewolf back, sure, awesome. But the second I found out when I saw that list that we're getting Scream, the first thing that came to my mind was, number one, please don't be lying. Number two, please don't base it on the TV show just because it's relevant right now. And that's the reason that it's making it relevant. And three, when it all comes down to it, just, I want to be going through Woodsboro. I want to see Billy and Stu, or a reasonable facsimile. I want to see Tatum in the garage door. I want to be chased by Ghostface. I want to hear Red Right Hand in the queue line.
Yes.
I want to see really awesome merchandise that has the Ghostface mask on it and Halloween Horror Nights 25 on the back. This is my dream property. And we had a Q&A with Mike Aiello during the compound last year, and he asked what everybody wanted to see at Horror Nights. And the first thing I said, I looked at him dead in the eyes. I'm like, I want Scream. I want Scream. And he's like, okay, that's cool. And obviously, one fan doesn't dictate an entire event, because if that was the case, Penn and Teller would be here every year. So, and we'd have a regular Scream attraction at all times. But the thing is, it was awesome because I knew that it clicked right there, and I was thinking, maybe this is actually going to happen. Somewhere down the line, they're going to have to do it. I mean, they did it with All Night Die-In before, so you'd think anything that was in the All Night Die-In property may end up as a full house down the line. Or Silver Screams, depending on how you're looking at it. But I don't know. I'm really, really super excited. And if someone pulls the rug out from under me, it's not going to be a fun time.
I cannot wait if this actually happens. Okay, let me just say this. Whether it's this year or not, it's not a matter of if it happens. It's a matter of when it happens.
Yep.
I don't want Scream 2. I don't want Scream 3. I don't want a best of house. I want Scream 1. I literally want to walk through kill scene to kill scene to kill scene.
Yep.
I want the scent of burnt popcorn.
Yep.
I want somebody sitting out of a window getting their throat slit. I want the movie. And after seeing Halloween and how awesome of a job they did just to give you fan service to that movie, even as far as a shootout at the end of it.
Yes, that was awesome.
Scream could be probably their best IP house yet, ever. Even over Werewolf.
You know, it's like I said, it's like Chris mentioned in the chat. When it comes down to it, like saying Insidious could possibly be my favorite house of the year, but this is my property. This is the movie I grew up on. This is the movie that got me into horror in the first place. This is something that if I wasn't going to Horror Nights, I would because of this.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that I'm going more than I've ever gone this year, that hearing that it actually will come this year really makes it a whole lot sweeter.
Yep. It was 23. What got me was Cabin in the Woods and Evil Dead.
Cabin in the Woods was a spectacular house.
Once I heard that was coming and Evil Dead, even though it was a new remake Evil Dead, which I still loved.
Yeah, same here.
That was like okay, I'm sold. I'm coming to Halloween Horror Nights. Scream will do that for a lot of people.
Yeah, it will. And I hope that they really utilize that merchandising opportunity.
Yep.
Because in 2012, when I looked around and I saw Silent Hill, and I saw Alice Cooper, and I saw The Walking Dead, and I said, where's Penn and Teller? And they gave me nothing. And in 2013, when I was looking around for The Cabin in the Woods and American Werewolf in London, they gave me nothing. Well, they gave me Werewolf. They made me wait a year.
They had, yeah.
And I think the shirt actually might be different this year, honestly. Or they may just do the same one and just like brand it Halloween Horror Nights 25 on the back of it. If they don't give me Scream shirt this year, oh my goodness. I don't. It's a merchandising option that I'm sure a lot of people would be rocking without a doubt.
All they need to do, Ghostface.
Yep.
And then, if you love Halloween Horror Nights, they don't even have to say the word Scream. Just the Ghostface mask. If you love Halloween Horror Nights. So that would be perfect.
I just want Ghostface on merchandise and to be able to buy it. And I'll tell you right now, I think I said before, as long as this works out, and it sounds like it's going to, if it is based on the movie, and I'm pretty sure it will be, I want it to be based on one. I want it to, okay, here's the best way to describe it. I want Scream to be Halloween and not From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yes.
It needs to be set in the first movie with odes to 2, 3, and 4. I'd like to see like a couple here and there. That'd be kind of fun.
I'd rather the house just do well enough that it comes back with a whole house by itself for 2 and 3.
I love that, but I don't know if we're going to do like a trilogy of houses at this point.
Right.
Or, I mean, because a lot of people don't like 4. I know a lot of people don't like 4.
You can skip that one.
4 is a guildy pleasure. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I like the twist, even though they pretty much should have went with it in the original 3, but that's another story altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, like I said, this is a dream come true. And if it actually does happen, I'm super excited to go through it. So.
Yep. Sorry, go on.
Go ahead.
I was going to kind of talk on the possibility of a lot of the things that were strongly rumored, that are no longer there. Shining, for example.
The hedge maze. Can you imagine going through that?
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine how many Jack Nicholson lookalikes you would get in that house?
Now, I can't remember if I asked you this or not through chats, but on one of the coasts, either Murdy or on our coast, somebody had mentioned about working with a director or a movie legend, a horror movie legend, that he never thought he'd be able to work with.
Yeah.
Was that Murdy or was that Aiello?
Well, it might be. It could be either one of them because it could be talking about John Landis, but
then I was thinking Wes Craven, but they've done Wes Craven before, so that's not it.
And it's not Stephen King.
No. So I'm curious to know what that was about.
The name that comes to mind is Guillermo del Toro because I know both coasts want to work with him.
Yeah, I guess, but that's almost too much of an obvious that it wouldn't be like that big of a deal to get.
But maybe it was. When was this? Do you remember?
I'm wanting to say about 3 months ago, maybe. I don't remember exactly. I just remember one of the quotes talking about Horror Nights, and there was a tweet. I'd have to go back, but okay. I remember hearing about one of them saying that they're going to get to work with a director or horror movie legend that they never thought they would.
Yeah, there's a lot of names that come to mind, but some of those people are no longer living now, so...
Yeah. I'll do a quick search after this and see what I can find.
That'll work. We'll hit on that. Like if I end up joining into the loop sometime, we'll talk about that.
You definitely will be.
Do another podcast somewhere down the line.
For sure.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned Shining. I think it'd be super awesome. Going through the hedge maze, I think it'd be great. Like being able to go through the Overlook Hotel, like seeing the twins at the end of the hallway. I think that's custom made for Halloween Horror Nights.
Oh yeah.
And just like the red door in Insidious, I'm pretty sure they did that in Hollywood. I'm guessing on this because obviously I haven't seen the walkthrough.
If I'm not mistaken, they did have the red door.
It has to be in ours too. Mm-hmm. The Shining is something that they rumored for last year. It was like a joke, like a haha, kind of like what they did with Nightmare, Friday, and Insidious. That picture that got out, and that was a nice little haha. But a year ago before that, they did like Resident Evil Retribution, Predator, which is the first time we ever mentioned anything involving what could have ended up being AVP, which ended up being AVP, The Shining, and The Exorcist. So The Shining, I think, would work, but John Murdy said himself something to the extent of, I don't know how many Jack Torrance lookalikes I could possibly get in the house. So, like, you get a Jack Nicholson, you get a Jack Nicholson, you get a Jack Nicholson. So, yeah. Yeah, Mario Pena basically confirmed that. So, yes, thank you for that. I appreciate it. The Exorcist.
Yep.
There's a couple of iconic scenes that would work in a compilation house.
Mm-hmm.
The crab walk and our favorite scene with pea soup.
Yep.
Yeah, compilation house for sure. Full house. Yeah. I doubt it. I really do.
I have one word for a house. Poltergeist.
Honestly, I really thought it was coming this year. That was one of the things that I really thought would end up happening was Poltergeist on both coasts. But
the reboot come in. The reboot looks amazing.
Sam Rockwell's amazing.
Yep.
Can't say no about that.
You never know. It could still be coming to one of the coasts.
It could.
I think it would be a great idea.
I have a list for what I think Hollywood may be getting, and I'll talk about that down the line when they start giving some more code names, which I found out officially on John Murdy just tweeted out with the at Horror Nights Twitter feed. I think the lineup is pretty much set at this point. Only going to release one more code name for this year. Better to keep you guessing. So I'm going to guess that's going to be the outside the box property that we're talking about.
Right.
That's my guess. I don't know for sure.
Cool.
So what else we got here? Where are you? Oh, Will Smith asked one more question. He said something about, will we get another music house in Orlando? Alice Cooper failed. Alice Cooper failed in Orlando. Hate to Fly on Orlando United on their podcast, Radio OU, brought it up, and I totally agree with it. When it comes down to it, yeah, what Hollywood has does not translate completely well to Orlando.
No.
Like it never is exactly as great as it was in Orlando. Just like you have La Llorona and the fact that it was complete until we got to like getting wet and getting the like the white sheets. After that was all Orlando, but before that was all Hollywood. And Alice Cooper was a Hollywood maze that worked really well in Hollywood, but I think that reason why it worked really well in Hollywood because you're in LA and it makes more sense. In Orlando, not as much. So could we have gotten a Black Sabbath? Could we have gotten an Iron Maiden, which I think Hollywood still will get? Spoiler alert. I don't see it now. Yeah. I don't see it now. I don't think Orlando will ever get another music maze at this point. No. I could be proven wrong.
I would love it because I never got to experience one, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I didn't go through Alice Cooper. I went through House of Horrors and the Deluge started, and it pretty much ruined the night. So Alice Cooper would have been like third. So after Bill and Ted, if I would have continued to go. So,
yep.
What else we got here? Scare zone opportunities. So it sounds to me like we're going to get some scare zones. Used to be houses this year, and I thought that was going to be something that was going to end up happening.
Such as?
Well, it sounds like we're going to get some sort of like a Scary Tales type scare zones time around.
Okay.
Which is a very popular series of houses. And it sounds like that maybe we're going to get like a Universal Classic Monsters scare zone potentially. But this is all hearsay right now, honestly. Like
that'd be cool, though.
I'd say the Chainsaw Drill Team will return. So
I think that's a given.
Yeah, they're going to roam as long as they stay away from Springfield because that creates issues.
I would love the Classic Monster Scare Zone, and I think that would just be perfect for the 25th anniversary and potentially with whatever they're doing with the villas there. Mm-hmm. The museum of sorts that's being rumored.
The Gardens of Allah.
Yeah, Gardens of Allah, sorry. Yep, if you do it over there in that area where the Bayou was last year.
Okay.
You could, you got that whole nostalgia of Universal and nostalgia of Universal Monsters all kind of in one area. Celebrate the history of the horror movie pretty much in one zone.
What about over by Mel's with the horror makeup show right across the street?
That could work too. I mean, it's all kind of in the same vicinity, right? Even just that whole side of it.
Yes, exactly. And then you can eat at Mel's while you're watching the show. So
that'd be awesome.
Because I think I'm one of the only people that likes Mel's. So
I've never eaten there. I've never actually eaten there.
I'll be honest with you. For less than $10,
mm-hmm.
I can get fed at Mel's.
Okay, maybe when I'm there in May, I might have to try it.
All you have to do is get one of those souvenir cups.
Okay.
The 99-cent refills.
Nice. Yep.
So that's how the $10 thing comes in. It's awesome.
That makes sense now.
So what do we have here? That's pretty much like there's nothing really confirmed yet. So that's just what we're guessing to be the truth.
Yep. Same with all these houses. Nothing is confirmed as of yet.
Nope.
But very probable, I think, on a good 90% of what's been talked about.
Yeah, I'd say so at this point, honestly.
I'm still with the stuff with Jack, I would have personally said he has a whole house on his own. Not
That would have made sense. Yeah, I agree.
like that's why I'm a little confused on that in terms of this leaked list. So maybe we're proven wrong on that. I hope he gets his own show. I loved watching the ones that he's done before, like the either the circus or the carnival, whatever it was called. Again, I'm not really good with the names. I apologize for that.
No
But
worries.
like, I mean, when he did the stuff with the giant human blender and everything like that, I love watching that. I've watched it dozens of times.
The
I would
Arrival
love
show.
to. Yes, I would love to see that in person.
Yeah, I think that show is. We get a show with Jack. I don't know exactly what kind of show we're gonna get. Bill and Ted obviously returning.
Mm-hmm.
No reason that's ever gonna go anywhere.
Nope.
I don't know about Rocky Horror this year. I'm about half and half on it. I don't know if it's gonna return. I know that last year there seemed to be a lot more walkouts than the previous year.
Just because of not being entertained, or I know there was a lot of issues with the callbacks.
Yeah.
That people got offended over
Well,
because you're at a horror event with a lot of adult content as is, and you get offended at people in garter belts. Like, really? In offensive language.
yeah. Well, the thing is, I know a lot of people that used it as a place to just sit down and relax, text, and check emails, stuff like that. I really think that Universal is missing a golden opportunity. I know it won't ever happen, but could you imagine? People are sitting there texting and having a grand old time. The next thing you know, they're getting accosted by a character behind them when they didn't even know was there.
Yep. It'd be awesome. I think it's time to hang up the shoes on the big red pumps, so to speak, for Rocky Horror.
I love Rocky Horror, but I mean, I'm not in the minority either. But it's just it doesn't seem like it has its place at Horror Nights, but I don't think that enough people go to it in order to facilitate it returning.
Yep, agreed.
I do think, take this any way you want, I think there will be a way to watch Rocky Horror at Universal or on Universal property on Halloween night this year.
That could be possible.
We'll just say, I'll say it that way. That's the best way to put it. So it sounds also like we may be getting like another like face-off styles, like photo opportunities type scare zone too.
With face-off again or something different?
Something different. It sounds like it's going to be like one of those stages where you have like the monster and then you have like the minion attacking you, stuff like that.
Okay.
I think that would be really cool if that ends up happening.
It worked really well in most cases.
Oh yeah, totally. Even though, like I said before, I only saw one cast, and I never saw Ex-Girlfriend once.
Oh, that's all I ever saw.
So you saw what I never saw.
Yep. Yeah, and I think you saw what I never saw.
That's fair, I guess.
I've got I'll have videos up on my own personal YouTube page at some point whenever I decide to edit it finally.
Editing, a word that is completely foreign to me.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a like a circus, like a carnival atmosphere apparently over in New York this year, if rumors are be true.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
That's interesting. That's very interesting because the New York area with the purge last year was like absolutely intense in every way possible. You need something really big to take up that space. And if the purge can't return this year, which I think it may come back next year because the movie comes back next year, you have to do something grandiose with it. And I think that maybe like a carnival of sorts would be something really grandiose to walk right into.
It was cool. I went to Six Flags Great Adventure in Jersey, and they had a whole scare zone, circus-themed scare zone. But they went above and beyond where they had like the ball of death. They had those two, I don't remember what it's called, like the two rings that the people stand in as it goes around and around, and they climb on top of and stuff. Like they actually had circus acts in the middle of a scare zone.
Nice.
And I was like, that's a brilliant idea. They even had people like sword swallowing and doing whip stunts and stuff like that. And I think that would be really cool at Universal. You have both the entertainment, you have characters. It would be an awesome concept to mix that together. And of course, you got Mr. Jack the Clown as a ringleader.
That would be pretty awesome. I don't know about the logistics, given the fact that that place is a logjam like crazy, especially during the night. People going back and forth. In New York, it's just insane.
If you rope it off, kind of like how they did the auction stage for the Purge,
Now that's something I see could happen.
right? You rope it off, or even just that whole Central Park area itself. Just rope that off, have the axe inside so that there's not a lot of that ability to, accidentally cross paths with one of the performers or get in their way. And with enough security like Universal has, I'm sure they could manage it. Just if they could do the auction stage work so well with no issues, I'm sure something like that could, in theory, work. And I think it would be awesome to see just a visual of that.
I guarantee you we get some sort of a mini show like an auction, but I don't know exactly what it would be yet.
Right.
I'm not talking about Jack's show. I'm talking about something completely different.
Fair enough. Hell, when they started doing the motorcycle stuff, that was surprising enough as it was to have legit motorcycles going through the crowd of people.
Yeah, and you've seen how bad the Purge was last year. Yes. There's like hundreds and thousands of people trying to walk opposite ways, trying to swim upstream, and it just does not work.
No. But I mean, they pulled it off, and I don't think there was any reports of any issues with those motorcycles or the van or anything like that. So
not that I heard of, but
no.
Maybe we're not being told everything. Who knows?
That is true.
We did lose the sacrifice after all, because that really was logistically in the wrong place.
I stood there for about an hour until I just gave up, and then I eventually read a blog and found out
that it was gone.
Yeah, because it was gone. It was there, I think, the night before I arrived.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the last time it played. And I was quite disappointed.
Me and my friend Joe were walking towards a parade building, and we stopped at the shack to see if anything was going on there. And sure enough, they basically told me and told Joe that it's done.
Yep.
It's basically, they didn't say it was canceled right away. They said it's on a sabbatical.
Right.
And if you're upset about that, write in, call. Tell Universal you want it back.
I still kept thinking that for as amazing as the Voodoo Queen did.
Oh my God.
I'm almost still expecting that she gets a house this year.
This year, no, but I want that house.
Like, I want her back. She needs to be back in this, regardless if it's a scare zone or something. She needs to be back.
Did you interact with her at all?
A little bit, yes.
When we did the compound meetup, Doc was there, and Doc was talking about Face Off with everyone.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, we just hear some loud noises and all sorts of craziness. I'm like, is there some crazy person here? And then the next thing you know, here she shows up. And we got to interact with her. And even when people weren't talking to her at all, they were just completely away from her, she was still in perfect character. And I really think, honestly, I said this in November, I'm going to say it again. I don't think it's going to happen this year, because this year seems to be pretty much set. But maybe next year, you give her a backstory, you flesh it out. I know Halloween beat us to the punch, but I know how bad Orlando wants a voodoo house.
Yep.
Bayou of Blood with Mamba as the figurehead is your voodoo house.
I would love it. She was incredible. I never saw her off character.
Never. Not once.
Nailed it all the time. And I was always wanting to run into her. Like, that was the thing. I would just stand by and watch her just run around and do her thing. I didn't care what she was doing, who she was doing it to. I was just fascinated with it. And, even losing the sacrifice, and she still kept going. And I was like,
oh, yeah.
You need a raise and you need a promotion. And you basically just deemed yourself to be an unofficial icon as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I totally think that she is the catalyst for our voodoo house. And for those of us that really want a voodoo house, that's going to be how you do it.
Yep.
And it seems like it would work because she's popular. She was popular with the fan base, without a doubt. Like, a lot of Tim and Jen's videos, they were basically talking to her. And like Kyle's videos of You from the Cheap Seats, when he was doing those too. I mean, talking to her and everything, and everybody was talking to her because Mamba became kind of like, I can't necessarily, well, yeah, I kind of can say this. She's kind of like an unofficial, like, secondary icon of 24.
Exactly. Yep.
And I know that she will have an awesome house when they finally pull the trigger, and I know that they're going to have to eventually. Another thing that is going to be really interesting is there's this big question mark about Sting Alley this year.
Okay.
Okay, the Lady Luck scare zone, and which apparently we have an icon scare zone that's basically it's Sting Alley. It's kind of like it's okay, but that's not grandiose enough for an icon.
No,
but it was a way to do pop out scares and everything.
Yep.
And we're supposed to get, if the rumors are true, we're supposed to get the geishas last year, and that didn't end up working out. Now, there is a lot of people saying that we're getting something in Sting Alley this year, but no one knows what it is, or no one has any idea what it might be.
It's a perfect area to do something, so I'm always disappointed. I'm disappointed when there's not anything there.
I thought that might be where they did the auction, but they did it in New York instead, in front of Macy's. Right. So I mean, that made more sense in the long run. But
oh yeah, much better idea to do it there.
I thought they were going to do something with Sting Alley and the Purge, but they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of left that empty, really, because all they had was the crashed car thing. That was it, right?
Basically, yes.
Yeah, there was like nothing really there. Well, I'm all for using that space for something really cool. I think it's just it's an awesome area to do it. So we shall see.
I would say no London.
No
London. Will we ever use London in any form?
No.
I doubt it. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, the fact alone that they weren't even letting people into that area.
Yeah.
During Horror Nights, you could only get in there from islands. I don't see it happening at all.
And Go ahead.
I was going to say that's another logistic to think about doing an event over at islands. I mean, Horror Nights is tradition to be related to a lot of drinking and stuff like that. And if you have people drinking and then jump on a train to go over into Potterland and into, Diagon Alley and all that other stuff.
God.
Yeah, and I think that's what the concern is from Warner Brothers and Rawling and all that stuff is they don't want that atmosphere inside of anything related to Potter.
Could you imagine, like, in 2013, if you went through Resident Evil, did you have the liquor, did it have a tongue?
I think so.
I went through on a walkthrough and someone ripped it out.
I think I can't remember. I think it did. But I do remember reading later on about that happening. Mm-hmm. So,
can you imagine what people could do to Diagon Alley with no supervision?
Yep.
That would
be bad.
The Hogwarts Express basically being the drunken train. Yeah. Oh, where's the beer line? It's in Diagon Alley.
Yep, pretty much.
And Hollywood has something that would never work over here, which really sucks for me because I'm obviously don't drink, but I know a lot of people will be mad about this, but Hollywood's event is dry.
Really?
They don't have alcohol at their event, from what I've heard before. Someone, please, anybody that's listening right now, if anybody is, please let me know if that information is correct, because that's what I've heard, that Hollywood's event is completely dry, no alcohol.
I mean, I like the benefit of it. However,
I understand.
I partake in the bevies all the time.
Well, we did have someone in the chat room ask if you were drunk talking tonight, so yeah, anything's possible.
No, I mean, minus the Jello, the blood bags, I don't do that anymore because I thought it was a waste of money. But
yeah,
there are drinks throughout Horror Nights. It's kind of just part of the course. It's fun. Relax a little bit.
Liquid courage, I guess, would be what it is.
Yep, I wish I had done that before going into Giggles and Gore the first time.
It
was really bizarre. It was really. I loved it too. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's the thing is, I hate clowns. I've always, well, not always. It was a certain movie that terrified me, and I would give you not a lot of money, but I'd give you money if you could guess on one guess what movie scared me of clowns.
No, you're not going to give me money there because there's
Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Really?
Yep. Remember the beginning of the movie when he tied his bike up outside, went inside the store, came back out, his bike was missing, and the clown had an evil look on his face?
Yeah.
Yep, that was it. I've not told many people that. Now I've told the internet.
Yeah. Mine was probably mine was Candyman and Dr. Giggles, actually.
Yeah, see, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't. But we went in there, and it was actually really funny. Like, we were literally the first people in that maze in the night because everybody was still up at the front of the maze, like the front 4 mazes.
Yep.
And it was to the point where you had crew helping set people up. There was that one area where there's a clown up above you that would reach down.
Mm-hmm.
They were still wiring her in or him in and getting them ready. Like there was crew in perfect day, regular clothing, helping this person get ready for the evening.
That's bad show.
Yeah, it was pure daylight. I mean, that's the only thing I don't like about that area is even when I went through Havoc, which was horrible to begin with, it was extra horrible with all the light seeping through.
At night, Havoc was a lot better. And Havoc I went through at night pretty much every time because if you go through Havoc during the day, it pretty much loses all the effectiveness.
Havoc, I mean, it was better. I wouldn't go as far as saying a lot better, but it was better. It was like walking through a fireman calendar. Just half-naked men everywhere, and I was not terrified.
Yeah.
It was lame.
That's being terrified for a different reason.
Exactly. Exactly.
No, but I mean, Giggles and Gore had some extremely attractive female characters in it, and I was very like the Harley Quinn, for example.
Yep.
With the chains, I thought that was really awesome, and the characters that were in From Dusk Till Dawn. There were some very attractive ladies this year because a lot of the years, some of the characters are more for the females. This year, we kind of got some as well.
Yep. I will not complain.
And there's Bill and Ted, which, again, makes Owen very happy.
Yep, that makes everyone happy. That just, you got it all. Male, female, and in between.
Yeah.
Well, I guess in between would be more Rocky Horror.
Perhaps. But, I will say right now that, last year was really fun, and it seems like every year I'm trying to guess if it's going to be better than the year before.
Right.
2013, I was like, what's going to top it next year? What's going to top Werewolf? And then we got Halloween. And then what's going to top Halloween? It's like, well, I might be getting Scream this year. And Freddy vs. Jason has a really good possibility to work really well. And I hear nothing but amazing things about Insidious, even though I'm not sure to believe them or not. And the originals this year, if we get any of those, if any of those are true, they all sound pretty cool.
I mean, I guess the weakest of the bunch is the Alice one, in my opinion. But, I mean, still could be awesome.
It could be a dark horse, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, if I had to get, like, right at this moment, being almost the end... Oh, my God, it's almost May. I would say that the weak one for me would probably be... it's either Alice or Run.
Yeah.
But I don't know what they're going to do with this run. If Run's going to be more like the first one, or it'd be like the second one, or it's going to be completely different.
Yeah, I need to kind of dig a little bit more into the Run history and get an idea of what it could do. Where they could go with it. Like, I mean, if the first one was basically Running Man and the second one was basically Hostel, I don't know.
Again, once more, like I said, if I get this wrong, my apologies. I'm just going with what I've heard. So,
right.
Then again, I've been hearing for a long time that basically Insidious was Dead End, and that was proven incorrect this year. So it was the Apparition, not Dead End. So that's another thing I really wanted to see. I did not get to see Dead End or Gothic in 2012, and I really wanted to see both of those.
Gothic looked cool, for sure.
Gothic did look cool.
Yeah.
So like I said, I really hope that we get an ode to some of these houses and some of these characters and creations that I've not seen in the past, because if we're going to do a 25, then it's got to be a little bit of something for everyone. The general public, the diehards, and beyond diehards, people that have like been with the event since day one or know about the event since day one. So yeah, I think everyone's going to be pleased this year, regardless, when we get our official announcement, whenever that starts.
And at the end of the day, you cannot please everyone. So
no, you can't.
People will complain about Walking Dead as much as they'll complain about Alice in Wonderland, as much as they'll complain about Insidious. It's just the way it is.
And real quick, before I say anything more, did you have any originals that you like better than any of the other ones?
For the ones that were... I like the idea of the Hollow 2. I watched a little bit of the walkthrough that Mike Aiello has online.
Mm-hmm.
I love that concept. I'm being the horror geek, being the fan of Horror Nights, all that kind of stuff. Any chance to kind of go into that type of environment just to be overload of you need to walk through this multiple times to catch everything. That is a house to do it in, and I love that. Like that's a house that if they do it and I do the tour, that's going to be one of the houses I'm going to hope that I can get to go behind the scenes, just so that I have the lights on and be able to see every single detail. So.
Yeah, if that does end up being the case, I definitely want to see that. I mean, I like to call this zero continuity house, but that's fine because
you don't need it.
No, you don't. I mean, it'd be nice, but I mean, like, tell me, like, hey, Owen, this is this or this is that. Someone that doesn't know any better, but
it is the mashup. That is what that is. It just is. Here's everything. Yeah. Yep. Here's everything. Throw it in one pot. Enjoy it. Have fun. Get scared by all the icons and do it again.
Final room. We have everybody in there, and one big pile will try and attack you like the end of House of Horrors, and there you go.
Yep. It's very easy.
What did you like original wise in 2013?
2013. So that was Havoc. It would have been the one we spoke of earlier, the 3D one.
Afterlife.
Yeah, I dug that one a lot.
Afterlife. And last year.
I'm trying to remember last year. Oh, Jesus, easy. Dollhouse.
Oh, Dollhouse was awesome.
Dollhouse. Like honestly, I wanted to get stuck in Dollhouse. I wanted to find a nook to hide in and to stay there overnight. Not the room with the poop. I mean, I could skip that room, but I wanted to be stuck inside of Dollhouse for a night, as messed up as that sounds.
Well, we could have put you right on the wall.
Right?
We literally could have put you right on the wall.
No, I didn't have the ass for that. I think, honestly, like when I walked into the room with the Teddy Ruxpin stuff on the wall.
Yes.
I literally shed a tear. I was like, this is heaven. I loved it.
I think during preview night, when I did a video on my channel that next morning, I said Teddy Ruxpin has seen better days.
Yes,
and that's all I'm going to say right now.
I was actually we did the tour last year. It was Halloween, From Dusk Till Dawn, and Dollhouse that we got to go through, and I was so happy for that. They were going to switch it, but they kept it as Dollhouse, and I was so happy. It was just the most messed up, eerily creepy original maze I have ever walked through, regardless of events.
Well, I think that's the creepy tent anyway. So that's where all creepy things go.
Oh, because that was La Lorna before, which was really creepy. Any maze where there's dead kids floating in water.
Yes.
I mean, that house was disturbing. And that's why I'm saying, like, if you look at the past of stuff they've done, and then you watch anything American Horror Story has done, I don't see it. I want to know what they suggested that Horror Nights said no to, because I don't get it.
No idea. It's like I said, this has been floating around for quite a while, so I don't know, honestly.
The only thing I could think of is dead babies in jars, like fetuses. But that's
dead children in La Llorona.
Right. Children versus babies. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, I gotcha.
But still, like, I mean, but that segment alone, that's basically just the intro of the show. That's where those things would appear. And though there's a lot of sexual references in American Horror Story, and crucial to the story of that, as a house, it's stuff that could be easily taken out, in my opinion.
Maybe he wanted that stuff in there and he wasn't going to budge on it.
Well, I mean, in Freak Show, that starts off with two skeletons having Siamese skeletons having sex with each other.
Okay.
So, I mean, unless they were going to recreate that.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to get that many houses anytime soon.
No.
Yeah, so I will say right now, the year is going to be really fun, and I'm really looking forward to see where we're going to go from here, honestly, because there's some really great possibilities if everything ends up being the way it is. But again, it's not even May yet. So we could lose a house. We could get another house. We could lose a scare zone. We could replace a scare zone. It's anyone's guess at this point. The only people that know right now are A&D, and that's it.
Yep. I truthfully think 9 houses plus their upcharge house will be what it is.
It's very possible, but here's the thing. There's this rumor that peeks its head out every once in a while about potential construction. and maybe a location maybe not being available.
Yes.
Like, don't forget, we had the Chupacabra house in 2012, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, by the way, we're going to bulldoze Hercules and Xena and fast track Transformers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then we had the idea, apparently there was some sort of a rumored house, so it was like a nightmare, like the boogeyman, like under the bed, and like a 3D type house that was rumored for last year, and it got taken out because From Dusk Till Dawn came in. So it's anyone's guess. I think that the IPs will stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the originals may end up getting tweaked, but what would you tweak in this situation if you had to lose one of those houses?
For the originals, I would lose Alice, and I would do a Jack-centric house, personally.
No. If we have to lose a house, no, we don't get anything for it. We lose it outright.
I'd lose Alice.
Really?
I don't think Alice has any place in a 25th anniversary where all those other houses have some sort of connection to the history of Horror Nights. In my opinion. I know Alice has done these scary tales and all that kind of stuff and the scare zone, but I think Alice would be kind of like one of the things is not like the other.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I think Alice actually might work better for the general public than another original.
Agreed, yes. Maybe you can market that a little bit better. But I don't know. I for myself, if I was in charge of it, I'd get rid of Alice. At least this year.
Alice.
Bring it back next year when it's not that big of a year in terms of 25th anniversary type of deal.
Yeah, you could probably do Alice another year. I can see that. But
what would you get rid of?
I'd probably get rid of Run.
Okay.
I will say right now that there's these rumors going around right now. Rumors about a lot of things, about a property that Hollywood is going to get later this summer, and I think they already have it now. Actually, it was part of their tram tour, which really needs to come to Orlando like now, because they just announced the movie. The next one's coming out in 2017.
Right.
And as of this weekend, it's going to pass Frozen as on the list of the most, like, the biggest box office in the history.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that coming. I don't know if it's going to be that soon.
I think they're going to have to fast track it now, honestly. Like, everybody was talking about losing Twister to get whatever was going to end up there. Keep Twister a little bit longer, and then maybe we say goodbye to Mr. Frank Kincaid a little sooner rather than later.
I still think Twister will get the switch to that rumor very soon.
Yeah, the 30 Rock idea that we're hearing about?
30 Rock idea?
30 Rockefeller Center.
What? Did I miss something?
What are you hearing is going to be possibly at Twister?
Sharknado.
I haven't heard that.
You haven't heard that?
No.
Oh, yes, sir.
Oh, God.
They were selling, I mean, yes, it's because they were filming, but
it was the movie.
But the t-shirt said, I survived Sharknado, which is in relation to the movie and the book that's in the movie. But there is not that much work that you need to do to convert that.
If we're going to get Sharknado, then Sci-Fi needs to get rid of Ian Ziering. Sorry, I forgot. Ian Ziering. Yes, I am the Celebrity Apprentice guy on the internet. Get rid of Ian Ziering and be like, dude, Paxton's going to be the new star of Sharknado, and then I will agree with you.
Don't get me wrong. I don't want to lose
Paxton.
No.
We're not going to lose the Pax. That's not going to happen.
I hope not. I'm sure he'll still make a cameo somehow.
I hope so.
As long as it's in some awkward intro where he's not filming it with anybody else at the same time.
That's like 7,000 miles away.
But no, that is a heavy rumor that Twister is going to get overlaid.
I've heard that too, but that's not the overlay I heard.
No, I haven't heard the one you're talking about.
Nah.
I think I know which one you're talking about now.
Yeah, but all this is rumor and hearsay, so I mean.
Yeah. The Sharknado one would definitely be a much easier.
Yeah, possibly. I could see that.
Switch out a cow here, a truck here, throw in some more water.
Yeah, it's funny because Chris is really mentioned hitting it right on the head here. He says it seems funny if that happens. It's like history is repeating itself. Just remember Transformers.
Right.
Yeah, it's like seriously, we're fast tracking something that I think we were gonna get, but maybe not right away. Like Transformers, we were never supposed to get Transformers. What's the point? Transformers is Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Basically,
Well, yeah.
It's basically the same layout and everything. And it's just one park away. It's basically just a train ride away.
Yep.
And it's right there. So, and then they fast track Transformers. And now with this property, which I'm sure people can use context clues to realize what we're talking about, I would state that if this is going to happen, you got to do it now. Don't forget, Universal hasn't even announced Kong yet.
No.
And if you look at the pictures that we've seen numerous times, like all the photo updates,
yeah,
all the blogging sites, it's getting done rather quick.
Yeah, but still not rumored to open up until 2016.
There is a big rumor right now that they're trying to get it ready for Horror Nights, and I don't know. Even with Universal's amazing powers of construction, I don't know if they could do it or not.
If all it is a larger scale version of Hollywood's, then yes, I could see it. But if it is the rumored half and half,
yep, then
no.
The facade looks very finalized in places and still not in others.
The facade, if you like, see, the thing is, I don't know how far along that's going to go, because there's that little kind of triangle out section.
It's
and
huge.
Then there's this, it's massive, and then there's that other area near the backside that they're still just putting up framing for.
Yeah.
I don't know how far that facade is going to go. If the facade is going to stop at the section that kind of points out, which is rumored to be part of the queue, then they could probably have that done in a couple of months and the scaffolding down.
It's Universal, though. Universal seems to have like magic powers when it comes to construction.
Yeah, they're not Disney.
Yeah,
that's basically what it's come down to.
Yay, Avatar.
We've got some great almost weekly to bi-weekly updates. Just to do a cheap plug again.
Go ahead.
On the In the Loop podcast YouTube page. Follow us on Facebook, and we'll post our videos up on there. So facebook.com/In the Loop podcast. But the legend goes out there almost bi-weekly now lately to get updates of the Kong stuff. And it is moving along very, very, very fast. So I still don't know. If it is just movie, yes, Horror Nights is very possible. If it's more than movie, then that's where I start getting skeptical, because the rumor is a boat ride.
Well, here's the thing. We were promised a while back. Now, granted, I know you can break promises. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
We were promised a new attraction every single year for the next several years.
Correct.
What is the new attraction for this year?
You're right. Agreed.
Is it the NBC Media Lab that we're hearing about at Gardens of the Law? Is that going to be where that's going to end up going? Is that going to open this year?
I think that's close. That will probably be open soon, in my guess, I would say.
Or maybe it's a fast track to Kong this year.
I think, but then again, don't forget there's also the rumors of Ministry of Magic.
Ministry of Magic, but where's Bill and Ted going to go?
Bill and Ted will find a new home. I mean,
you have
Bill and Ted is a month out of a year, right?
Well, yeah, but Bill and Ted, if you haven't noticed, gets like almost, at least the beginning of the event, gets like sellout crowds.
Oh, I know.
You have to put it somewhere huge.
Yes, you would need a new venue for that to go, but ultimately, the major use of that theater the rest of the year, it can go.
What about the old Hard Rock location on property that before they moved over to the Hard Rock they have now in City Walk? They haven't done.
I'm trying to remember what that is.
They haven't done anything with that in years. It's like over by Animal Actors in that area. Like
okay,
Why don't we make a venue out of that? I'm sure we could get a nice little big venue out of that, but that's probably another thing that they want to do with something else, or maybe just use it for what I think might end up coming before 2020.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say right now, we have the NBC Universal Media Lab, the thing, whatever's going to take over or the Museum of Universal, whatever's going to take over Gardens of the Law is going to be this year.
Okay.
Let's say that. Let's say Kong opens early next year. We fast track Fast and Furious to open in 2017. And then 2018, maybe SpongeBob?
Star Trek?
SpongeBob or Star Trek? I think Star Trek is more like 2019 or 2020, if that's real.
What would SpongeBob be? A retrofit to Shrek?
Kid Zone. Get rid of Kid Zone, create Bikini Bottom. Bring in the Krusty Krab, bring in the Chum Bucket. SpongeBob is still popular. The movie itself, which is still my favorite movie of the year so far, has proven that it's still popular enough to do something with. And it's the one Nickelodeon franchise left that actually you really could do something with. So why not? Why not get rid of Kid Zone 100% and turn it into Bikini Bottom?
Makes sense.
But I'd keep E.T., honestly, for the nostalgia factor.
I know. I would keep E.T. as well, though I don't see that happening. It's got to go at some point, sadly. But I hope not.
Yeah, Chris is right. I totally agree with you. When Kid Zone does happen, when all the construction starts at Kid Zone, Horror Nights will never be the same again.
Yeah.
Never be the same again, because ways to get to things, they're going to have to change everything completely around. Because you got to know Barney's going to leave eventually.
Yes. The fact he's still there is amazing.
Curious George, like I said, we could turn that into a playground area for SpongeBob.
Mm-hmm.
And E.T. would be the only thing I would keep over there. Animal actors, it's tough.
Yep.
I mean, animal actors and E.T. would be the only thing you really would keep, but you'd have to find a way to do something with that. I think Ghostbusters needs to come back in a show form, like the old Ghostbusters show. I'd love to see that return.
Yep.
Or maybe if they want it, I'd love to say possibly that I love Men in Black. I love Men in Black so much. Men in Black is awesome.
Don't say it.
But is there ever going to be a time that Men in Black ends up getting a different overlay? A different property for the shooter attraction instead of Men in Black?
In this day and age, I can never say never.
I totally agree.
That's the only problem. I don't want to see it happen.
I love Men in Black.
But I mean, at this day and age, never say never. That's the thing. I never thought they could build Transformers in such a short amount of time, regardless of how simple the ride system is.
It was ridiculous how quickly that building went up.
That was insane.
Oh yeah.
Could I see an overlay? Yeah, I could see an overlay. Do I want to? No.
No, I don't either.
I don't think there's a need for it. Aliens are aliens, regardless if Men in Black is relevant or not. Aliens are aliens. Just like E.T. is E.T. There's some things that just will never die.
Well, don't forget, it's also Back to the Future year this year, too.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see anything with that.
And it would be great if they could do it, but it's never something that I believe would ever happen.
No.
Could you imagine, just for maybe from the end of October until the rest of the year,
mm-hmm.
you change out the ride video, and just for the anniversary, you bring back to the Future?
I would love to see it happen.
It'll never happen, but it would be awesome.
Yeah.
Because if Springfield did not exist and it was just a standalone, mm-hmm. I say it'd have a better chance.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly think that they would be like, no, there's no way we're doing this. Sorry.
Right.
Which is a shame. Even though you can get the Back to the Future ride still on, I think the Blu-ray.
Yes, it's still on the Blu-ray on the Blu-ray trilogy. You can still get it on there.
Yeah, it's a shame that we've lost a lot of the things. Beetlejuice is probably going to go eventually too.
That's all right.
I mean, okay, let's say, for sake of argument, San Francisco changes completely. If Disaster leaves,
mm-hmm.
and they do bring in Fast and the Furious, and you would get rid of Beetlejuice, probably, I would say, because it doesn't fit San Francisco now. I don't think it would fit if they turn it into Los Angeles.
No.
I don't know. Would they turn the section in LA if they ended up getting Fast and Furious instead of Disaster? Maybe retheme Richter's possibly. Well, I don't know. You don't really have to
You
because
don't really need to.
there's earthquakes in LA, so
Exactly. Yeah, you wouldn't really need to.
maybe then there's also the chance of maybe like doing a tram tour. Why does Orlando? I think Orlando doing like a tram tour would be nice too. If
I
you
would
had
love it, but
the footprint to work with.
they're not that much of a working studio,
No,
right? So I mean, there's really nothing to see.
no. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like we get the earthquake, we get
Gotcha.
Jaws.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I think that would be great if it actually could work. But again, I don't think that'd be pretty much asking for too much.
Yeah.
I'd say right now, yeah, I agree with you, Chris. When it comes down to it, if we do end up getting when we end up getting Fast and Furious, regardless where it ends up, if it does end up taking over Disaster, that's now not a location anymore. They're going to have to find a new Sprung, or they're going to have to find a new soundstage to take over. And who knows how to get to the parade building and the Sprung tents. I know Sprung is because they're branded Sprung, but you can spring them up pretty much anywhere. We're going to get interesting locations if that ends up happening.
Yeah, I saw a picture today. I can't remember where it was. That was a Google Map shot of a new area kind of being cleared out for land for what looks like a sprung tent.
Yeah, that's a big rumor right now that we're possibly getting that may be our 9th house location, but then again, everything's all hearsay right now.
Right. Well, either way, I mean, I think the event itself is going to be pretty epic if this lineup is even 90% true.
It's anyone's guess.
Yep, that's the way it goes.
But yeah, that's what we've got right now. Hopefully you guys and girls out there enjoyed the conversation I've had with Toronto Josh for the last almost 3 hours now.
It's been quite the epic one for sure, indeed.
Yes, and once we finish here, I have some more things to chat about with you before I let you go for the night.
Yes, most definitely.
Everybody in the chat room, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for joining us. Whether you are a fan of pop, you like my stuff, just the Horror Nights content or wrestling content, movie content, anything else we have on the channel, or if you're just a looper, I mean, thank you for joining us, without a doubt. I mean, this was like a spur-of-the-moment thing, and I know Josh really appreciates you joining us for tonight's first podcast.
Yep.
So anybody in the room, real quick, before we go, you have any more questions before we head out for the evening?
And as we're waiting for those to filter in, I'll say as well, thank you very much to anyone who came over from In the Loop, any of the loopers, as we like to call them. Thank you very much, even if you stayed only for a few minutes. Appreciate that very much. I've said it before on my personal YouTube page. I've said it on my Twitter as well. Follow Sir Owen Disney on his YouTube, on his Twitter, on his Facebook. The content he does, not only Horror Nights related, but in addition to food sampling and everything like that, and movie reviews. There's just a plethora of content that comes out almost pretty much daily, as far as I can tell.
Oh, it's daily.
So
it's totally daily.
Hit the subscribe button. You're already here, so just do it. It's a click of a button. And enjoy those videos. And for the ones who already subscribed to Owen, but not over to In the Loop, hit us up at facebook.com/InTheLoopPodcast. I can be found on Twitter as @InTheLoopPodcast or @TorontoJosh. Various content on both of them. I have too much social media, man. And if Instagram allowed me to switch back and forth between accounts more easily, I'd get back on that, but they suck for that.
And real quick also, if you're at Facebook and you want to hit up our Facebook fan page, I'm trying to get to 100. Like, we're at 94 right now. I'm trying to get to 100 at least. But that's just a small benchmark. I want to go a lot higher than that, obviously. It is Sir Owen Disney Pop on Facebook. So if you want to search out the word Sir Owen Disney and Pop. So that it's an easy way to find it that way. So
sounds good. I'll be sharing out all your links for sure.
Awesome. I will do the same. And once again, thank you guys and girls out there for joining us. If you want to hear Josh and I talk Horror Nights or just theme parks in general again, I'm sure we're going to make that happen very soon.
Yep, definitely.
And you never know. Maybe Josh will end up joining us on Pop somewhere down the line. So who knows?
You never
We're
know.
always looking for new talent. So yeah, let's see what we can do about making that happen. Maybe getting a little non-Orlando theme park perspective to the channel.
Most definitely. And I know we're going to be getting you on In the Loop Live as well. So
awesome. So thank you guys and girls out there for joining us. I'm sorry that we bled into the Horror Nights Updaters podcast. I totally wasn't trying to do that. My apologies. If you want to check their podcast out, it's under Horror Nights Updaters on Facebook, and they are currently they've been having a podcast for the last 45 minutes. So check them out. They're really awesome people and some of my good friends. So definitely check out their Horror Nights content. Psycho Massacre Films, Dr. Emmett Brown 1, HHN, Long Day. HHN Fan 11 and Crazy Englishman, that's the same person. And also First Class Horror, my friend Aaron, he's an awesome guy. UKHHN, my friend Neil, awesome people. Listen to their podcast. They're talking Horror Nights right now too. So this is the time for us to talk Horror Nights. So yes. And once we get any more information, trust me, we're going to do this again.
For sure. Anytime I can talk about it, I want to.
I'll trust me. If you guys like this podcast, don't worry. It's just beginning. Just beginning. Don't forget, May 1st, it's official. Pop is officially 2 years old as a channel. So, yes.
Nice.
Thank you for watching and subscribing and commenting. And for regular viewers on Pop, we're going to get Gaming with Ash out on Saturday. Brand new Versus on Sunday. Cryptic Comment is Country Strong. Film that out. And your movie reviews are currently available if you want to check out the channel. Refresh the channel you're on right now. You can check out AJ's movie reviews. We're talking about The Age of Adeline, Little Boy, Good Kill, The Water Diviner, and Monkey Kingdom. So those reviews are out right now. And like I said, new Versus Sunday. We're going to be talking Extreme Rules. Ashley and myself doing a podcast on Sunday night after it's over. NXT on Monday. Impact on Wednesday. Our live Raw podcast on Tuesday. Brand new Sip and Snack on Thursday. And Friday, AJ's movie reviews. We're going to talk the Avengers. Saturday, brand new Versus, and long day. Saturday, brand new Gaming with Ash. Sunday, brand new Versus, and more Halloween Horror Nights content to come very soon. So that being said, thank you, Josh, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the chat room and for all the questions. If we didn't get to your questions, my apologies. Don't forget, whenever you are in a Popcast, it is hashtag HHN Popcast. And ask your questions that way, and you can hit us up on Facebook or Twitter that way. So that being said, thank you guys and girls out there for watching. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.